Welcome to Nick and Dave Deep Dive the Metaverse, a podcast exploring cult classics, subculture, and geek media. I'm Nick.
And I'm Dave.
And we will be your tour guides today for this deep dive of Tim Burton's 1989 gothic noir superhero film, Batman.
Or Batmania, if you will.
Yeah.
This was more than just a movie. This was a cultural phenomena.
It really was. It was one of the first, what they call now a four quadrant film where it's designed to hit every demographic.
Yes.
And it was it's one of the first kind of corporate synergy movies where it was very shortly after Time Life Books and Warner Brothers and all of Warner Brothers subsidiaries merged into one mega entertainment corporation.
Yeah.
And they pushed Batman through all of their avenues, through the record label, through their television division, through crazy marketing.
Yeah, they spent a ton of money on marketing. It was everywhere. Like fast food restaurants had the logo on every package. Everybody had Batman shirts, and there were shoes, and there was a toy of every kind. Kids' bikes, kites, literally everything. You could buy it with a Batman logo on it.
Yeah, this movie came out late in June of 1989 when I was 10 years old, and probably like a week before my 11th birthday. And I got a lot of Batman shit for that 11th birthday.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even by Christmas, it was still, Batmania was strong. People were like still buying all the toys and all this crazy stuff. It was really a huge success. They budgeted $48 million for this movie. It actually started at less than that, but it got pushed up to 48. And it made $411 million at the box office alone. So that's ridiculous. That's not even counting all the merch money and all that stuff.
And that's not adjusted for inflation.
Yeah.
So those numbers seem a lot smaller than they actually are.
Yeah, this is basically the modern equivalent of $1 billion movie.
Yes, definitely.
It's pretty much, it was a super movie. And this was before, not just because it's superhero, but this was before the modern bonanza blitz of superhero movies.
Yeah, and in a way, I mean, it's a slow ball, but it does sort of start that ball really rolling.
Yeah.
Like, how do we repeat this? And it was sort of like, no sooner was it done than they were trying to do it again.
Yeah, I watched a making of documentary or whatever, and it was terrible. But one of the exec guys they were talking to, basically they said as soon as it had, it did something like 65 or 80 million in the first week. The exec they'd already said, all right, make me another one exactly like this.
Yeah. And, one of the few people that really saw this coming was Jack Nicholson, who he took a smaller than normal salary on this in exchange to have a piece of the back end, which it actually continues to this day. He owns a piece of this version of the Joker. So if they use the name Jack Napier, Nicholson gets a check to this day.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So
they generally don't.
But every once in a while they do. So it's like he's still cashing in on this movie.
Oh, sure. He's beyond rich, though.
At the time, it made him the highest paid movie star that there was. And that was just from merchandise and back end deals.
Okay. Yeah, this is you and I were youths at the time, I think I was 10, you were 11, something like that. And it was basically just one of those deals where this movie was really I loved it at the time. I thought it was cool. I liked how grim dark it was. It was pretty cool. And I had really high opinions of it. And I literally haven't watched this movie in like 30 years. So
interesting.
I was really curious to see how it would stand up because, as after this movie came out, we had more. We had a whole bunch of them. And, the second one was supposedly really good. It did really well. And then they just sort of went on, and they just weren't that good.
I mean, what happens, we end up with when Schumacher takes over the franchise, who we're fans of him because we like Lost Boys.
Yeah.
He had a very different vision than Tim Burton did. It's much more in line with like the 60s TV show.
Yeah.
And so it definitely became more colorful, more campy, which is what the studio wanted him to do. But it's not necessarily what the fans want.
Yeah, like the Riddler was just the worst. And you know, and I did not like any of that campiness. So this kind of I would say that I was a little bit soured on Batman until the Dark Knight trilogy because I just thought, man, it's really lame kid stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate those two. I mean, obviously the Tim Burton movies are the ones that are the nearest and dearest to my heart.
Yeah.
But I can appreciate the Schumacher movies for what they are. I think that they are kind of, they're sort of kids movies, but they're also very horny movies, very gay, very fetishy.
Okay. I mean, I haven't seen them in a long time, but I just remember not liking them when I was that age. When I left, I was like, man, that wasn't as good as the other ones.
Yeah.
So that was just me, but let's move on. Let's roll for initiative.
All right.
18.
Ooh, I got a 6, so you go first.
Dang. All right. So I was thinking maybe on this segment, maybe we should go back and forth rather than me just doing a whole list and then you doing a whole list.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's how you do it in Warhammer. The winner of the roll goes first, and then you go back and forth.
You have more things than me, but I have one that's a little longer because I want to read a whole press release.
Oh man, you're gonna read to them?
Yeah, you know that's what the divers love is text segments.
Yeah. Okay, we should get a text to speech bot to do it. All right, so I'm going to bring up Legend of Vox Machina finished up, and it was really good. I did of course, I watched them as they came out in little 3-episode bundles, but I also watched on Twitch. They did Twitch watch parties. So if you have your Twitch and your Amazon account linked, you can watch along with the cast, and they give commentary and all of that. And you can adjust the volume of the show versus the people and stuff, so you can hear more or less. And it was pretty cool hearing what they had to say, because each bundle of 3 episodes they did a watch party for, and they had 3 or 4 cast members and then 1 person from Titmouse.
Oh, cool.
So like one of the animators or directors or, somebody of relatively important people. And so I thought it was really cool to hear all that stuff. And now on YouTube, they have all of those videos, the Q&As, for the watch parties are up on YouTube, and they're edited, so it skips the part where you're watching the show and it goes to the Q&A portion that they did between the 3 episodes. Okay. So it actually works out that there was technically more Q&A than time watching the shows, because the episodes were like less than half an hour.
That's just like us.
Yeah, for sure.
Our podcasts are longer than the movies
they
we talk about.
They got to tear it apart, and that's just how it goes. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there to the divers that the Legend of Vox Machina Season 1 is done. They're already working on Season 2. It's hopefully going to be done a little more quickly, because Season 1 got interrupted by COVID. They recorded VO and whatnot for the first few episodes, and then after that it was all dispersed, like all the people recording VO for their in their home studios. So yeah, I think that this is definitely a worthy addition, and there's definitely going to be a Season 2. It was the #1 show on Amazon during its time, and so I assume they'll do a Season 3 as well, because why wouldn't you?
Probably, yeah. And I co-sign everything you said. I mean, you've been a cheerleader for this property for as long as it's existed, pretty much. I've listened to a ton of the podcast, just a couple episodes to get kind of a flavor for what it was, and I liked it, but I never got into it. But now I'd say I'm into it. Like the show exceeded any expectations that I had by far, and I thought it was really good, like much better than I expected it to be, and I thought it would be good.
Yeah, I think so too. I thought it would be good. I think where they really excelled was that they made it funny, and there's enough of those little in jokes where if you've ever played D&D, you're like, oh, that's where he rolled a 1.
Yeah.
You know, like, and so there's enough in jokes, there's enough funny stuff, there's enough tropey stuff, but also there's a lot of really good character development, and there's some really cool villains that you can just love to hate. So yeah, it's great.
I mean, and it kind of does, I think, what Marvel did for superhero movies is like include enough of that stuff, like you say, those sort of nerdy Easter eggs that it rewards you for being a longtime listener of the podcast.
For sure.
But it's completely accessible to someone who doesn't know anything. You don't have to be a D&D player to grasp this.
Yeah.
And it's funny. It's funny, but not necessarily a comedy. It's just got that really hard to hit mix of all of those things: humor, action, emotion. It really does it. It's like it's cinematic, for lack of a better word.
The people at Titmouse know their business. That's for sure. And I watched it's a podcast, but it's on YouTube, so you see the people. A vodcast, I guess. Anyway, I can't even remember what the podcast was called, but it's the two British actors that played Merry and Pippin.
Oh, okay.
And they have their own show, and they invited Sam Riegel on, who is the musical genius behind Critical Role. He writes all the theme songs and all this stuff.
Ooh,
and he plays Scanlan.
A score album?
I don't know. I know that all the themes, like the themes from the podcast, or you call it the podcast, but I watch it on Twitch, so it's a show to me. But all of their themes and stuff are all available online, and they're all original songs by Sam. Anyway, he was on there, and they know jack about D&D.
Original soundtrack album is on Spotify. Okay.
Oh, nice.
I'll have to listen to
I'm
that.
sure I own that as a Kickstarter backer, but I just don't really.
Yeah, download that FLAC file, man. You paid for that.
It was a stretch goal, but yeah, anyway, he explained D&D to them. Really, one of them had played before, the other one hadn't, and he explained how the show went to actors, and both of them had watched it. And they both really liked it just from being fans of fantasy in general. And I think there are a lot of non-gamer fans of fantasy.
Oh, for sure.
Like I watched the YouTube series from same guys who I watched their Wheel of Time series, the Everyday Negroes.
Okay.
And they did a Vox Machina watch through, and they're not gamers; they're just fans of fantasy. And it's really funny watching them react to stuff, especially when Percy goes bug nuts and starts killing people. And they're like, "Damn, Percy!" It's pretty funny.
That was so well laid out through the series. Like, there's early on, you see the plague mask hanging in his bunk or whatever, and there's something where after the first time when he kills that the guy that's like the carriage driver for the vampires,
or he shoots the guy's hand.
Yeah, that's what it was. He shoots his hands off, and he talks about how he swore he'd get revenge, and Vex is like, swore to who? And and they just sort of like they breadcrumb that out across the whole season, and it's like that's what I'm talking about in how well laid out the series is.
Yeah.
Like, it's just better than it has to be.
For sure. And this was all stuff that happened in the game. Like, Percy had a pact with a demon. He had a level of the warlock class, and he would, and so it was really cool. Like, and he eventually rid himself of that. And the whole deal at the end where Scanlan throws Percy's gun in the molten pool, that happened in the game too. And Sam had no idea. He was just trolling Taliesin, and Taliesin, they're like, "What?" And then Matt is like, and then you see this black entity rise up out of the pool from the cursed item. I was like, oh man, it's so good.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really good. What do you got on your initiative?
So I had a TV show that I wanted to talk about too that I know we both watched, and that was Peacemaker wrapped up.
Okay, yeah, we mentioned that last episode.
Yeah,
it's done now.
I think when we talked about Peacemaker the last time, only 3 episodes had come out, and I was very much on those first 3 episodes like, this is fun, like Deadpool. Dave will like it.
Yeah.
The 4th episode, which
this is better than Deadpool, by the way.
Yes. When we hit the 4th episode, that was when shit really. I was like, wait, this isn't just fun. This is actually really good.
Yeah, I love the acting. Like it's so amazing. John Cena, and then the dude that plays Vigilante. Man, amazing.
Him, when he gets himself sent to prison and he sits down at the table with like the Aryan Brotherhood guys in the prison. He says, "Let's all go around the table and name something we're happy that Black people contributed to American culture." and it was like, oh, this is amazing. And then he fucking serves those guys.
Yeah, and the white dragon won't fight him because he's too smart. He's too wily. That's his whole thing. That guy's a genius. So, of course, he's not going to take the bait.
Yeah. And so, this show really exceeded my expectations. And that was having already watched The Suicide Squad, which I enjoyed quite a bit. I enjoyed the show more.
Yeah, this was really good.
Yeah, and then, big spoiler, but the actual freaking Justice League shows up at the end of it.
Yeah, I was like, holy crap, I don't think that was Henry Cavill.
No, it was a stunt.
Yeah.
Gal Gadot and Henry Cavill can't be bothered to show up for these things, but...
They got Jason Momoa and they got The Flash.
Yeah, Ezra Miller, who both of them are filming their movies currently, so it was like, you're already in the outfit, come stand in front of this blue or green screen and deliver this dialogue.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah, Aquaman swore, dropped an F-bomb. I was like,
yeah, that was great.
Yeah, so
I just love that. Aquaman fucks fish.
Yeah, and Barry's like, it's not a rumor. Yeah, I love the dynamic of those guys, and I loved the whole cast of Peacemaker. All the hair metal was excellent.
Oh yeah, that was great. And Eagly, the animation is like sometimes you forget that's CGI.
And John Cena plays Motley Crue on the piano, and it's beautiful.
And it's really him.
Yeah, and he really plays it. His big gorilla hands are nimble on the keyboard. I just couldn't. Yeah, that show, similar to Vox Machina, like I expected to like it, but I ended up loving it. Yeah,
I can't wait for another season. That's got to be good. I loved at the end when he, turns to the other agent who had, what's her name? She betrayed him.
Oh no, Ayabato.
Yeah, no. And he's like, after Eagly, you're my BFF.
Dude, I almost cried when she turns around and she like does the fist pump or like pound on the heart.
Yeah,
and like she's got tears in her eyes, and I'm like, damn.
Yeah, it was really good because those two had a ride. She deceived him and he was hurt. He wasn't mad. He was just hurt.
And they mirrored each other in this beautiful way because they both have sort of villainous parents that push them into this lifestyle.
Yeah.
Anyways, we've spoiled it a bunch, but if you haven't watched Peacemaker, watch Peacemaker.
We didn't spoil it much. We spoiled side shit, not even the main plot. Yeah. So could definitely watch Peacemaker. It's probably the best show streaming right now. It's Vox Machina and Peacemaker are both like they're both 5-star streaming shows.
Ooh. That's strong.
That's strong because they're strong. If you can gush about it for 10 minutes, it's a 5-star show.
I don't just give out my 5 stars
willy-nilly.
No,
you're miserly. You're miserly. You wouldn't even give Falcon and Winter Soldier 5 stars.
No. Oh, geez. Both of these shows were better.
Oh, no. Yeah, Falcon and Winter, I think I gave it 4. I gave Mandalorian a 5-star show.
You did.
Season 1. Because Season 1 was great. And I can't wait for Season 2.
Season 3, you mean?
Yeah, Season 3, yeah.
Yeah. No, I can't either. And we've got Kenobi before that.
That's true. That's going to be dope. But you jumped the line.
Yeah, you get back.
So I got some shorter ones going forward. Okay. Some things. Cubicle 7, a game writing studio. They made Wrath and Glory, which is the Warhammer 40K RPG, which I have played, and they made the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. So they make good games. They've been licensed to make a Doctor Who game, our tabletop RPG based on the 5th edition D&D stats. It is also called D&D Doctors and Daleks. And out there, if you are a diver, if you're a diver who is also Whovian, you suck because Doctor Who is lame. And skip this game. And unless you really like it, then go ahead. But I don't like Doctor Who, and I was really surprised that they got such a top tier gaming studio to make this trash.
Wow. That took a turn. I didn't expect that.
I wanted to warn everybody away. Also let the Whovians, who they know they're the bottom rung of the nerd cons. You go to the con and you see the Whovians talking to the brown coats, and you're like, who's lamer?
Oh man, that's harsh. Anime
kids are cooler.
I've always wanted to get into Doctor Who, and I've just always found it impenetrable.
I tried. I started where I was told to start by a bona fide Whovian.
The Eccleston ones? With
the David Tennant stuff. Because it's the most palatable for a person who's not bought in. It's the easiest jumping on point.
Okay.
Still sucked. Got 3 episodes in and couldn't go on.
That episode, I'm sure you've seen the stuff where they take Vincent van Gogh to the museum and to look at his paintings.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you've never seen that?
No.
That is a legitimately very moving sequence or whatever. Huh. But I've only seen it in isolation on YouTube. I've never watched the TV show it came from. And I've never, a lot of people have told me the same thing. The Tenet seasons are really the ones to get into.
Yeah.
I remember trying to watch it as a kid, like when it was on PBS, the old doctor with
I remember
the long scarf.
I remember that, yeah.
And it was so boring.
And the frizzy hair or whatever.
Yeah, it was so boring and it was so cheap looking.
Yeah, it did. It looked like Sesame Street, kind of like that level of set.
And I just could never get into it, and that has just stuck with it. And I see how much the Whovians love it. And I want to be a part of that because
you're a joiner.
I'm an enthusiast by nature, and so like when I see someone like it's this sci-fi show, it's been around for 100 years, and it's very legendary, and I go, I'd like to get into that, but I just can't.
So yeah, if you're a diver who doesn't know me very well, I am being mostly cheeky. I don't actually like this, but I don't like this property, but I love D&D, and I like this game studio, Cubicle 7. I wonder if this might actually be an entry point for me.
you get into it because of it's a rich universe, man. Yeah. It's deep.
And I like the system. I like the studio. It might actually be a good onboarding point.
Okay.
So I just thought that was interesting. So what do you got next?
Oh, so next up, this is a little tidbit. Very relevant to today's episode. Michael Keaton shared on his Instagram a photo of his shadow in the Batman suit from the set of Batgirl for HBO Max.
Oh, wow. So he's coming on and being the Bat.
He is. That's something's going to happen to the timeline in the Flash movie, and Batfleck will be erased, and Michael Keaton will be back as Batman.
Is he going to have a movie and stuff, like as Old Man Bat?
No, what has been kind of talked about is him kind of filling a similar role to what Nick Fury, Sam Jackson did in the Marvel movies, where he sort of mentors people and pulls strings and makes shit happen.
He's rich and has no superpowers.
Yeah, he's been Batman since the 80s basically.
Yeah,
and
so that's cool.
Yeah,
I'm down with that. Michael Keaton's a great actor.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that. We still haven't seen him in the suit. He said he can still fit into his Batman suit from the 80s, which is, I believe it. He's in better shape now than he was then.
He looks like a runner.
Yeah. He's real lean and wiry.
Mm-hmm.
And he was awesome in Spider-Man when he played the Vulture. He can still do this action stuff in his late 60s.
Is he that old?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him as Batman in November in The Flash, and then Batgirl is supposed to drop on HBO Max this year also.
Okay, I might check that out. I tend to like HBO stuff.
And that's why they shot Batfleck's stunt double for that scene in Peacemaker and then digitally removed him because, well, for one, the reason we're doing this, because there's a new Batman movie coming out like tomorrow if you're listening to this when it drops.
What is that one called? It's the new
Batman.
This is the Twilight Sparkle Batman.
Yeah, exactly. Twilight Sparkle Batman. Battinson.
Yeah. Okay, so my next thing, and I'm just curious what you think about it.
Okay.
Hasbro has been doing gangbusters business during the pandemic. Specifically, they're branding the Wizards of the Coast and their properties, Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons, have been really standard bearers. And so there are some shareholders, people that own significant shares of Hasbro, that want to spin Wizards off into its own company and focus on bringing additional value to the brands by offering in-house digital tools and subscription services and various things to enhance D&D and Magic players' experiences as their own brand, which strikes me as weird because it used to be an independent company that got snapped up.
Right.
I generally don't like business dudes and what they want to do to manipulate my brands. But on the other hand, this has been pretty business for a while. And I do like seeing D&D get extra traction.
Yeah.
I think that's generally good.
And so they're making D&D action figures?
Well, I mean, there are D&D figures, but they're talking about, this is still not, it's not yet a thing. They want to spin it off into its own independent company and focus on more stuff for the brand, add digital tools. Like right now, D&D Beyond exists, which is an online D&D character and campaign management services, but it's all just licensed. It's not in-house.
I imagine, especially like say you own a toy company and you own a role-playing game and a collectible trading card company like Wizards of the Coast, and you look at things like Hero Forge, where people essentially build minis and pay a premium price to get their custom character made, which I've done and I'm sure you've done.
Sure.
That's money you're leaving on the table.
Oh, it really is. And D&D, not to interrupt, but they have always had really substandard miniatures. And I say this from a miniature gamer's point of view. Yeah. I'm the guy who carves apart the minis and reposes them and makes new things and whatever. Because they always use low quality kind of rubberized plastic, essentially shatterproof. Yeah. But you can't manipulate that stuff and it won't hold paint very well. Yeah. And those are the official D&D minis. Right. Recently, they just came out with a line of high quality wargaming style minis that come on a sprue frame with many different head and weapon and different options. You just clip the ones you want to include for your dude. I think that, what do they call it? Like build a hero or something like that. And you glue it all together and you then you paint it up and it's your hero. And they showed like a monk that had like, I don't know, 5 or 6 variations of the same kit, and they all looked really cool.
Yeah, I think this probably makes a lot of sense for them, and I think they're probably also looking at like the Vox Machina thing and sort of being like, well, why didn't we make that?
Why don't we own that?
Yeah, exactly. And so there's just a lot of demand for things that are D&D adjacent that they're not providing, and probably they could if they were a more independent company. Yeah.
If there was official D&D models with official D&D paint and your official D&D account
like
online.
Games Workshop does.
Oh yeah, you have to have the whole hobby experience all in-house. I mean,
that makes total sense to me. So
I agree. Yeah. So yeah, we're in agreement. So what do you got up next?
All right, this is my big one. In 2022, the Shin era begins to move. Shin Japan Heroes Universe, a miracle project in which 4 works, and there's going to be a lot of English in this: Shin Godzilla, Shin Evangelion theatrical version, Shin Ultraman, and Shin Kamen Rider collaborate, will start the project by Toho, Color, Tsuburaya Productions, and Toei. From the connection of the works with Shin, in which rare creator Hideaki Anno participates, the dream collaboration of 4 heroes, in quotes, representing Japan has been realized beyond the boundaries of the company. And I won't read the whole thing.
So what does this mean to those of us who aren't in the Shinverse?
In the Shinverse. Well, for one, that there is a Shinverse, which has, because it is spread across multiple companies, it's been sort of, is Evangelion in the same universe as Shin Godzilla and the upcoming Shin Ultraman and Shin Kamen Rider. They're thematically connected through Anno Sensei, but now they're somehow he's bringing it all together into something. What it actually is, if it's a movie, if it's a series of movies.
So they're not even announcing a product. They're just announcing an intent to create a unified universe.
I think so just a few things. Evangelion and Shin Godzilla, there's been a motion ride at Universal Studios Osaka for quite a while that is Evangelion versus Godzilla. Where you're sort of flying around while the Evas are fighting Shin Godzilla.
And how is Godzilla not just getting destroyed by the Evas? They're so powerful.
Yeah, Godzilla, especially Shin Godzilla, is sort of like an unkillable god monster.
Okay.
He's very much like an upper tier angel in their world, right?
Gotcha.
Like he's hard to kill because he continues to evolve. And the artwork they've released, he's definitely, Shin Godzilla is evolved beyond what he looked like at the end of the movie Shin Godzilla.
Okay.
And so part of this was we finally get a date for when Shin Ultraman is supposed to be released, which is May 13th of this year.
Wow, that's soon.
It's very soon. Yeah, no one has known when this is going to come out. And Shin Kamen Rider has a release date of March of 2023. And then after that fourth film, somehow the universes are all going to be combined. I'm in the bag for anything Ono does, period. And Shin Godzilla was a excellent. I mean, it won the Japanese Academy Award for Best Picture.
Okay.
And we've done extensive stuff gushing about, or I have anyway, about Evangelion. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this.
I'm down. I definitely want to check it out. We can see about doing an episode on it when we find a property that seems good.
Yeah, we've had Shin Godzilla on the agenda for a long time, and probably sometime this year after Ultraman comes out, or around when Ultraman comes out, that'd be the time.
Yeah, and I mean, but real talk, the reason we always push them back is because monster movie episodes never do well. And so that's behind the curtain divers. Certain episodes do well, and so we want to try to do things that people will listen to.
Yeah.
But we also want to like it, so it's hard. It's a balance.
Yeah.
All right, so I got a couple things. This is just a couple of fun stories I found, and I'm just curious if you agree or not.
Okay.
So this was an article on Screen Rant. It was the 10 worst films in the modern day, and we're talking like big budget films, not like little Sharknadoes.
10 worst films in the modern day,
and there were 3 of them on there that I feel like they're sort of like they're in our wheelhouse.
Okay.
First one, and I'll go chronological by year released. 2001's Planet of the Apes.
Is that the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes?
I believe so.
So I really disliked that movie.
So it's definitely worthy of the list.
I watched this YouTube video kind of breaking that movie down the other day. And they really kind of like explained things that were going over my head in it. And I owe that movie a rewatch. But on its surface level, that rings true to me because I didn't like it at the time.
How about this one? 2007, I Am Legend.
Ooh, really?
I actually like that movie. So
yeah, I like I Am Legend.
I thought it was all right. I mean, the plot was thin, but it's a zombie movie.
It's just a remake of Omega Man with Charlton Heston, but with Will Smith.
And then here's one, 2013's Man of Steel.
Yeah, I don't buy that. I think what you have there, you have 3 really misunderstood films, I think.
Okay.
And I would...
Man of Steel was the second one, right?
No, that's the Zack Snyder...
It was the good one, right?
Yeah.
It was the one... Okay.
Yeah, I would encourage this individual that wrote this listicle to really seriously reevaluate. Read some stuff, watch some YouTube videos, go back and watch those movies. I don't think you got it.
Yeah, I think that this was kind of a dummies list.
Was there no Transformers movies on that
list?
Because those are all terrible.
Yeah, there's not been one good Transformers movie.
I hear Bumblebee's good.
Except for when you see people driving around in a yellow car with the sticker on it. I always think that's lame.
They made him back into a Volkswagen.
Yeah.
As he should have been.
Yeah, the whole time. Yeah. Not a Camaro. So do you have any more?
I don't have any more. Okay. So what's your last one?
I just got one, and I just thought it was cool because I am a Conan fan, and I particularly loved the Conan cartoon from when I was a kid.
Conan the Adventurer?
Yeah, Conan the Adventurer, how they all had their star metal weapons and stuff. And I was a kid. I love that shit.
Okay, I'm trying to pull the theme song.
Oh, man, I still know it, but I'm not going to sing it for you.
Adventurer.
Anyway, touching on that star metal theme, they did some recent scans and analysis of some of the artifacts that were tomb plundered from Egypt and are in the possession of the British National Museum. Evidently, the dagger that from Tutankhamun's tomb is a star metal dagger with a golden hilt. That's some badass shit right there.
That is. And
that's pharaoh level weapon.
And that's very comic booky, because that's the whole thing with Hawkman is the nth metal from Thanagar, and it ties into Egyptian, the Egyptians got a meteorite of the nth metal. So
perfect.
Yeah, some of those golden age comic book creators, they had the inside scoop on something.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's really cool. Something about a weapon made from a meteorite just sort of makes me smile. And I'm like, yeah, I want one of those. Not that I would have anything to do with it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not fighting Stygians. All right, so let's go ahead and do our podcast fuel.
Okay. We've got two different beers here. So first up, I'm drinking the Super Friends IPA. It's a collab from Gigantic and Double Mountain.
All right.
7.2% ABV. And when great brewers come together in the hall of fermentation, bound together in their pursuit of flavor, their individual superpowers will surely combine to create a beer that will do justice to their skills. That will stand up for brewing integrity, a beer that's not just for Saturday mornings. This is pretty delicious, easy to drink IPA. Gigantic doesn't F around, and neither does Double Mountain, and I'm really enjoying this.
Yeah, did you do the details on mine?
Yes, you're drinking the Metamodern from Reuben's Brews. It's collab with Georgetown.
Yeah.
It's a 5.5 ABV, and it is in an alternate reality where amber ales reign supreme. Hops are still the hero. So it's a Pacific Northwest amber ale. So the idea is like the hop palette of a Northwest IPA, but on an amber. And
that's what it tastes like. It tastes like a hoppy amber.
Yeah.
And so when I first took a drink of it, my first words out of my mouth was, this is okay.
Yeah, you didn't seem wowed.
And I'm about halfway through it now, because our intro segment's really long. I'm liking it more and more as I go.
Some beers are like that. As they get a little closer to room temperature, they mellow out, and you can get the hop profile and stuff a little bit more. It's not so bitey, and they are better with a little bit of time.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. I don't think I would go after this. It's not one that I dislike, and I'm certainly going to finish this beer. But it's not really up my flavor profile. Like, I like IPAs quite a lot, but I tend to like the juicier kind of fat IPA feel, not really the bitter bite.
Yeah.
And this kind of has that bite.
Okay.
Nothing wrong with that. I've had a lot of bitter IPAs because, if you're an IPA fan, you try them all and you get the full gamut. I will say it's not piney, which is the only kind of IPA I just won't drink.
Oh,
I
really?
hate the pine.
You don't like that resiny?
No.
Interesting. Okay.
It's like drinking bong water, which I've never done, but
Sure.
I wouldn't put it past you, but I have never done it. You would have.
No comment.
In the teenage years, you would have done it on a dare.
I would do anything for the attention as a teenager.
All right, so let's go ahead and take a break. We'll come back and we will deep dive Batman.
All right, welcome back, divers. Let's dive into Batman, 1989, Tim Burton.
Yeah, so this thing opens up with some really grim, dark imagery. You're not really sure what you're seeing. It's kind of industrial-ish. And you have this really big score. It's Danny Elfman music. You can just tell immediately.
Yeah.
Tim Burton plus Danny Elfman that's
so this is it's Danny Elfman's third score, and all three have been with Tim Burton. He did Pee-wee, he did Beetlejuice, and now he's back on Batman.
Yeah, and so it's really big. It almost feels over the top.
Yeah, and it's hard to really this is such a foundational film for me, because I can remember standing in line outside the theater waiting to get in to see this, and then sitting there and this opening sequence and just sort of not knowing what I'm looking at.
Yeah, it's mysterious.
Because the camera it tracks around, it pulls out eventually, and you see we're going through the curves of the bat symbol.
Of the bat symbol, yeah.
And you just have this sense of going into a cave.
Go ahead. Keep going.
No. Well,
I was just going to say, you know who ripped this off?
Who?
The most recent Rings of Power trailer.
Oh, you're right, because you follow
exactly this, and you don't know what you're looking at.
You follow the metal as it pours into the mold. Yeah. It's very effective, and they probably shot it very much the same way with a camera on a remote that they program in this path, and it goes in and follows it around.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it just I was on the edge of my seat through this as a 10-year-old boy watching this. Everything I'm this is nothing I've ever seen.
One of the interesting things from that making of thing is they're talking to the marketing people and whatnot, and they did a bunch of market research, and they said that of various recognizable symbols, they polled people what are these symbols, various things. The Batman logo in America was pretty much universally recognized. Even before this movie, everyone knew what that was. Yeah,
that's really interesting, because they used the logo hard.
Yeah.
There was billboards that didn't say anything except for June 1989 and had the bat symbol on it.
Yeah, they talked about how there was a notorious preview at for movies before that it said Keaton Nicholson on the top, and then it had a bat symbol, and at the bottom it just said coming this summer or something like that, and that was it. Nothing else. And everyone was like, it's Batman. Yeah. And so the Batman logo, they opened with it. They really cashed in on it because they knew there's already brand recognition, so let's just own that.
I'm wearing a shirt with that bat symbol on it.
It is the classic one, the OG.
I'm not just wearing it for the show. This is in heavy rotation in my t-shirts. And this is a conversation starter to this day. You're at a bar or whatever, people will be like, oh, cool, Batman. And it's a universal thing. It's all walks of life. Everyone goes, Batman. And they point at the shirt, and that symbol really is primal.
It is interesting when you wear something that has that recognizable of a logo. It harkens back to medieval heraldry, and all of that. So we're just on the opening crawl, and we're talking about medieval heraldry and conversations at bars. We better get to it.
Yeah. Well, two more things out of this opening. In that time when comic book movies were not common, seeing those things up on the screen, based on characters published by DC Comics and created by Bob Kane and that stuff, that was all exciting. There was the world we live in now, where there's a fucking Peacemaker TV show that's good.
Yeah.
That was not anything you could fathom in 1989.
And while we're talking about the creation of Batman, I saw a little thing where they're talking with that guy or a stock interview or whatnot. He actually got the idea for the Batman from original Leonardo da Vinci drawings and writings, how they talked about a flying man would have wings, but they would be like a bat. How he has his invention, the flying machines and all that stuff with the membraned wings. And so that's where it all originated from, is a Batman.
Bob Kane. See, nowadays it says Batman created by Bob Kane and Bill Finger.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, it just says Bob Kane and his collaborator Bill Finger.
Got the finger.
Yeah, was historically erased from a lot of this stuff.
Oh, it's like Dave Arneson and Gary Gygax.
Yeah, it's Bob Kane had the better lawyers and the better sense of salesmanship, I think, between Bob and Bill. But Bill Finger gets some more credit than he's given in this film, for sure.
I hope he got some of the money.
Eventually. It wasn't till well after this that Bill Finger started getting paid.
Wow. All right, so basically you get this, it opens up to a street scene, and it's the 80s. It kind of reminds me of a scene from Interview with the Vampire.
Yeah, it's shot really similarly.
Yeah, and you're kind of moving around, and you see this guy, he's trying to get a taxi, and he keeps getting like aced out by other people, and he's got a wife and kid. Man, this thing, it's like, I don't think that they were trying for realism at all in the look of this movie, because when I was just looking at it, I was like, I've gone on the Universal Studio Tour. This is a backlot at Universal, or somewhere similar.
It's Pinewood in the UK, but yes, it's all a set.
Yeah, it's a backlot set. It doesn't look real in the least.
No.
And the people don't look like real people either. They look like they're from the 20s, the way they're dressed.
It's a really interesting mix. That's why I called it in the intro, called it gothic noir, because it's the thing I want to compare it to is cyberpunk. But there's no cyber at all. So it's gothic and with that 1930s, 40s noir feel kind of jammed together.
Yeah,
like the street people are very late 80s British goth punk people.
Yeah, I think the sense of style and the people who did wardrobe for the extras and whatnot, it was not a unified vision.
Well, most people dress in sort of 1930s clothes.
Yeah. But
the ruffians dress in 1980s clothes.
Yeah, I don't know. It just kind of screamed out at me at how weird it was.
Yeah. And so we're watching this family of tourists, and you get the impression right away you're watching the Batman origin story.
Yeah, that's what I thought in the beginning.
It's like, these people are going to get gacked. Like, this is the end of the line for them. And they're very out of their depths in the big city, and the son kind of knows they're going the wrong way, and dad is overconfident and overruling him, and they're going down back alleys and making really bad unstreetwise decisions.
Yeah, some muggers show up. They get mugged, and at first I definitely thought this was the Batman origin story, but then the Bat shows up. You see his shadow first.
Yeah, and I love that the first time we see Batman, he's animated. He's not even a real person.
It looks like CG kind of.
And I think that's very much evocative of, it starts out, this comic book character is stepping into real life. So the first time we see him, he's animated in a real classic, like Warner Brothers animation style. And then he drops in behind the muggers, kind of slow with his capes out in the Batwing shape, and drops into reality.
Yeah, I mean, the dialogue here is really bad.
The Bat.
Yeah.
I love it.
God, I hate the way that the thugs and criminals in this show talk, or in this movie talk. It's like nobody talks like that.
No, everything in this movie is stylized. It's all supposed to evoke, like kind of those ideas of 1930s noir films.
Yeah.
For those people. And then some people speak very modern too. It's that sort of mashup of those sensibilities.
Yeah, so they scream, and basically the Bat, he rescues the people or whatever. He beats the people up, and then it kind of cuts to the muggers themselves, like they got away or something, and they're like chatting on a rooftop or something.
So yeah, like they mug the people and then scram out of there, and then they're dividing up the loot on the rooftop. So Batman doesn't actually save the people. They get fully like pistol whipped and mugged before Batman.
But they didn't get murdered.
Yeah. Batman just comes in to beat up the thugs. Like, he doesn't actually help the people all that much.
And you get some close-ups of these muggers and stuff, and they're super over makeuped, and they look like chimney sweeps. And they talk like they're out of the Mary Poppins movies if they went bad.
Yeah. Everyone is in heavy makeup in this film.
Yeah.
And they have like big circles under their eyes, and like they look super strung out. And like everyone, even people that you wouldn't think are made up in this film, they're made up. Everyone looks very exaggerated.
Yeah, and so I mean, it's all overdone, but it's across the board. So there you go.
Yeah,
and then you get the bat gliding down silently, right? And I thought that was pretty cool. I really like that sort of. It kind of reminds me of how Superman imperiously hovers. The bat glides down.
Yeah, and it's you can usually see the zip line that he's on. At least you can with like Blu-ray. Like,
yeah.
It wasn't
or
visible.
Laserdisc.
Yeah, it wasn't visible on VHS. I'll tell you that. But a lot of those silhouettes, it all comes. This is where I will give Bob Kane his credit from the 1930s Bob Kane comics when he was still drawing it himself, and he loved to do that, like the Batwing flare out behind
big billowy.
Yeah. And you can tell exactly like what comics Tim Burton was looking at. And
Tim Burton was not a comic book guy. He said he was not really a fan of Batman or comics in general before this movie, but he knew the look and the style. It was pervasive in pop culture and nerd culture, and so he then started reading them. When he took on the project.
And I think he really, for the most part, just stuck to those very early 1930s Batman. Like, that's all he was interested in. Nothing past where Robin gets introduced. Tim Burton's not into it.
Yeah.
He only likes the early
stuff. You
stuff.
don't need Robin.
Yeah. He's very punk rock about this. I was into Batman when he still had a gun.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, he glides down silently, and he's almost vampire-like.
Very vampire.
And they shoot him. And he doesn't go down. And I'm like, oh shit, Batman got armor. And I remember that as a kid thinking like, okay, this is legit. Like,
yeah, you have to put yourself back in that 10-year-old mindset and just remember like how exciting all of this stuff was, because you'd never seen anything like this.
Yeah, at the time it was really exciting. Like the fight scene, like he like karate kicks the guy, and he has this like sick bat lasso, and he then delivers the iconic line, "I'm Batman."
Yeah, and that's a Michael Keaton improv. The line in the script is, "I am the Knight."
I kind of like "I'm the Knight," but "I'm Batman" works too.
I am Batman. It's so iconic that it's one of those things that even Nolan, who threw away everything, kept that moment. He had to put that in there. So it's, hats off here to Michael Keaton. The other thing that jumps out at me is Michael Keaton's sick Jordan 3s that he's wearing. He's wearing Jordan 3s with like a wrap on them that makes them into a boot.
Interesting.
Yeah. Very comfy.
And they're black, of course.
Murdered out. And as much, I had my note, as much as Nike's made a big deal about, we did the Back to the Future shoes and coming out with limited edition of the Back to the Future shoes.
Yeah.
Where's my Batman Jordans? Like, that are like shin high bat boots with the Jordan soles on them? Come on. That's just money left on the table.
I agree. I was actually looking online for some vintage style Jordans in my size. They just don't really exist anymore.
Surely Michael Jordan wore them in your size.
Yeah, surely. But yeah, finding them for sale. I know they don't have to be actual vintage. I'm fine with repro. But anyway, so he jumps off the building and then he's gone. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, when I saw this thing, I'm putting myself back in that mindset. And I was just like, whoa.
Yeah.
But in the modern sense, this action, the fight choreography and stuff, it's terrible. It's so weak. Like, I don't think Michael Keaton can fight.
Well, I don't think Michael Keaton can move in that suit, especially in this very early version of it. I think as every movie has gone on, they've improved mobility in the bat suits.
Yeah.
This early one, you can he's got like a whole tire's worth of rubber on his head.
Mm-hmm.
He can't turn his neck at all. He can't hear anything because he's encased in that helmet.
Yeah.
They do the best they can with how little he can do, is kind of how I would put the action.
Yeah.
And he can pick up his legs.
Yeah. Yeah, he can kick.
And he can do that back, like that.
The Bruce Lee back fist.
Yeah, he does the back fist. They use what he can do in a rubber bodysuit, which is not a lot.
Yeah, I remember seeing this rubber bodysuit. I think it was part of the Batmania marketing blitz. Batman showed up at the mall.
Oh shit!
And did like a signing thing, and so they had a guy in the full-on rubber suit and the whole deal.
It was at JCPenney's. I remember this.
Yeah, I remember that. It was pretty cool. I went to that.
Wow, that's a close encounter of us when we were little kids.
Yeah, yeah, that's crazy. We didn't know each other then. So yeah, then it cuts to a press conference. We've got Mayor Borg, and he's delivering a speech about how the Gotham City bicentennial is showing up.
Yeah.
And we've got District Attorney Harvey Dent, played by Billy D. Williams, and they're talking about, and they have Commissioner Gordon there.
Yeah,
and they're basically talking about how this is going to go on. This celebration is going to go on no matter what, and how they need to make the city safer by incarcerating the mob boss, Carl Grissom. They kind of introduced the idea that there's this bad guy, Carl Grissom.
Yeah, and this is very 1930s gangster movie too, like where everyone's calling out the mob boss right on TV, and everyone knows the mob boss that runs the town. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm sure mob bosses run all major cities, but we don't know them by name. In the Batman universe, everyone knows it's Boss Grissom. There's a few things jump out at me here. First off, Tim Burton nowadays gets a lot of heat for not casting diverse movies. Mm-hmm. That's not the case in Batman. He even has race swapped characters like Harvey Dent, played by Billy D. Traditionally, he goes on to become Two-Face, and that's usually a white man.
Yeah.
And the Robin that they had cast was Marlon Wayans, who never appeared in any movies, but there was quite a bit of diverse casting in this film, and nowadays Tim Burton gets a lot of heat for not doing that.
I mean, quite a bit is relative. Quite a bit for the source material,
well,
but
it's
not quite a bit in general.
But in general, if you watch like a modern Tim Burton movie like Mrs. Peregrine's Home for Wayward Children or whatever it's called, it's all white. And you watch this, it looks like, even the background people, like, it looks like real people, a normal array of people.
Sure.
So that, because he gets heat for it now, it jumped out at me. Also, Mayor Borg, I thought that was former New York Mayor Ed Koch.
Yeah, he looked like a real politician.
Yeah, so Lee Wallace doing a great Ed Koch impersonation.
Yeah, and this scene, when I was seeing it, I was like, wow, like the building they're in front of looks like it's made out of styrofoam or plaster. And it's been like airbrushed with some patina.
This movie is made for VHS. It's not made for our modern, your OLED.
Yeah, but I'm still watching it on Hulu, and it's still not HD.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I don't know. It just kind of, I was unimpressed by the sets. That really came out to me every time that you see a big outdoor space.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm just like, this looks terrible.
Okay. From there we go to Nicholson.
Yeah, he's watching the press conference with a blonde lady, and we learn this is the crime boss's mistress, and he's also shacking up with her.
Yeah.
And he's talking a big game, like he's going to be the boss, etc. And it just struck me when we first, this is the first scene with Nicholson, and I just thought, man, he delivers the lines exactly like he delivers his lines in every movie. He doesn't even have a character. He just has Jack Nicholson.
Nicholson's a movie star. That's
okay.
that's where we make that distinction between movie stars and actors. Nicholson's a movie star. He does Nicholson doing the character.
Like De Niro.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like
De Niro can really change himself though. I mean, more like Sean Connery, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like there's Dwayne The Rock Johnson. There's certain people that show up,
but not John Cena. There's
John Cena can fucking act. Yes,
and Dave Bautista.
And Dave Bautista can act.
Yeah.
Here's a hot take. Dave Bautista and John Cena are probably they've got a deeper acting well than Jack Nicholson does.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, maybe that's a hot take, but certainly if you compare Nicholson's performance in Batman to John Cena's performance in Peacemaker, it's just hands down better acting in Peacemaker.
I love Nicholson though. I love anything he's in. He's always
just
great.
Weird. He reminds me. It's like that he's just like this weird, quirky guy that's kind of a little off his rocker. I don't hate it, but I don't love it either.
Oh man, have you seen Wolf?
No,
where he's a werewolf. Oh man, that's a good movie.
I tend to avoid Nicholson movies because there's not acting in them. It's just Nicholson.
Ooh, man, Dave's got some hot takes.
Yeah, I mean, he just does himself.
I love the visual storytelling in this scene. Like, there's all these photos of Alicia on the walls, and they're styled kind of like those Philip Nagel prints that were really big in the 80s with the white-skinned, dark-haired women.
Yeah.
And they're all white with just the pop of red on their lips, and we're getting that foreshadowing of the Joker, like the aesthetic of the Joker. It's already present here in this scene. And like Nicholson, there's little, like he's got purple pinstripes in his suit, and there's just these sort of like little grace notes of the Joker already here. So you see how Jack Napier is primed to become the Joker. He just needs a little push.
Yeah, and he's a weird guy. Like he's a narcissist. He's a narcissist, and I guess saying he's extremely vain is saying it again. But he's really just he's over the top. This version of the character is completely unbelievable as a real human.
Yeah, well, there's no real humans in this movie. There's only cartoon characters.
You think Kim Basinger's character is unbelievable? She seems to be the most believable.
She seems like she's the most like a modern human, like where everyone else is kind of in a weird 1930s time warp. She looks very 1989 and kind of behaves like a modern woman.
Yeah,
in a way.
She behaves sort of like a woman who is from this time period, like in a normal-ish sort of way. I don't know.
Well, because she's not from Gotham. That's the thing. It's like Gotham is this weird place that's sort of stuck in time, and she's come in from somewhere else. Yeah. Which that gets us to this next scene where we, I guess she comes in a little bit later, but this is where we meet Alexander Knox, the reporter.
Yeah, there's this crime scene investigation, and we got Knox, and he's talking with this lieutenant.
Lieutenant Eckhart.
Yeah, Eckhart, and they're very comic bookish. Like Eckhart has a cigar, and he's got the hat, and he's kind of slovenly in his way.
He looks really sickly, like most of the Gotham City people do.
Yeah, and it's just, like I'm just like this exchange between this reporter and this cop. This should, and then combine it with the really extreme lighting in the movie.
Yeah, very noir lighting.
It just reminds me like this is straight out of Dick Tracy. Like this is some like old school detective stuff, you know.
Yeah. Well, and this predates the movie Dick Tracy. Dick Tracy's comes out like Warren Beatty makes Dick Tracy because of the success of this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I didn't like that movie at all.
Oh man, Dick Tracy's awesome. I'm gonna go completely the other way. Dick Tracy's a great movie.
And so basically there's a little scuffle here between the cop and Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, because the cop kind of blows off Knox, and then he slips out to go take a bribe from Jack Napier.
Because that's what you do.
Yeah.
And right at work, on the job.
Uh-huh.
You know,
He does at least comment on it. He's like, why don't you broadcast it? Or, you know, like it is on some level Jack Napier fucking with him, like shows up with the bribe while he's out in public.
Yeah.
And this is the first appearance of Tracy Walter as Bob the Goon.
Yeah.
Tracy Walter, who I just loved as Miller and Repo Man. Every time he comes on the screen, I do the DiCaprio leaning forward and pointing at the TV. I'm like, it's Miller from Repo Man.
So you know who Bob the Goon reminds me of? So have you watched the show Righteous Gemstones? Mm-hmm. It's the super
Keith.
Christian. He's Keith. Keith.
Yeah, Keith.
He's Keith. Yeah, he's like kind of the simpering sidekick guy with a bad haircut, and yeah, he's Keith.
Keith is a good goon too.
Dude, I love that character. He's my favorite one. He's got his satanic tattoos and stuff, and he's reformed. He is very much in love with his friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that character,
I love
that's Bob the Goon.
I love Keith. I love Bob the Goon.
Me too. I love both of these guys. I like him way better than Jack.
I love how Eckhart pulls a gun on Jack, because Jack like shoves him against the wall, and Bob is over the shoulder with the gun. Like, Jack doesn't get his gun out. Bob has the gun out.
Yeah, and then Jack is like, what are you gonna do now, tough guy?
I've got a goon.
I thought that was actually pretty entertaining. Yeah. I'm not surprised that you also liked Bob the Goon.
Yeah, and I had the action figure.
Did you?
I'm a longtime Bob the Goon supporter.
Nice.
So just a little, because I'm into hats. This has come up a few times.
Sure.
I love that Jack wears a pork pie hat. Literally, not everyone, because Alfred wears a bowler, and Commissioner Gordon wears a Homburg. Almost everyone in the whole movie wears fedoras.
Yeah.
But Jack wears a pork pie, and I think like he's just that much out of step with everyone else.
I'm a Homburg guy. Yeah. I really like a Homburg.
There's a lot of sharp dressed men in this movie, honestly.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of hat game in here, but I do think that they bought fedoras in bulk and just started throwing them out.
Yeah, but certain people have hats that set them apart. Like, so Jack gets the pork pie hat,
like
and
Batman's rubber hat.
It's called a cowl.
It's called a lance. Anyway, so yeah, we get Alexander Knox, and he meets with what?
Well, not to.
Oh,
there's a lot of little sequences.
Yeah, like Mayor Borg and Harvey Dent talking about the 200th anniversary.
The mayor has a real boner for the bicentennial, and no matter what happens, he's not letting it go.
This was a throwaway scene because he already exposed his boner in the previous scene, the press conference.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to the what didn't work for you segment
later.
Okay.
This was a throwaway scene.
Yeah.
But then we get Alexander Knox, who henceforth shall just be called Knox.
Yeah, me too.
It meets with Vicky Vale, and she's an investigative reporter who
photojournalist.
You're right. She's just a photojournalist, and so she wants to team up with Knox, who is an investigative reporter, to do an expose on the Batman.
Yeah. And he thinks she's clowning him because everyone in the newsroom is clowning him.
Yeah, they hate him. And she's serious. She did like war photography.
Yeah, Corto Maltese makes an appearance here. So if you've seen the Suicide Squad, that country is a big deal in DC Comics.
Yeah.
It's kind of where every bad Latin American thing happens in DC Comics, is in Corto Maltese.
Well, every bad American thing happens in Gotham. So there you go.
DC loves the fictional place to talk about real shit.
Sure. Yeah.
So
I would rather live in Metropolis than Gotham. It's a better place to live.
Jeez, I like it gritty.
I think be safer.
You know what? I wouldn't want to live well, maybe Star City where the Flash is. That seems like a
Smallville, actually.
Or no, the Flash is in Central City. Star City is where Green Arrow is. It's in the Pacific Northwest. It'd be more comfortable.
Man, Green Arrow, he got clowned by Peacemaker.
That's true.
I love that Peacemaker talks shit about
literally every other superhero. Yeah.
He doesn't talk shit about Superman, though. You can't really talk shit about Superman.
I guess he doesn't. You're right.
He's a Boy Scout alien paladin.
Come, let's stick to Batman.
Okay, my bad.
Mm-hmm. We cut back to boss Carl. This is our first time seeing Carl Grissom. And he's very concerned with Harvey Dent digging into Access Chemicals because that's their big front company.
Yeah.
And I just got to say, as a kid, I was always terrified of Jack Palance.
He always played like a powerful, intimidating dude.
Mm-hmm. And he has this really like breathy speech pattern where he takes these like hissing breaths, and he just scared the shit. But I loved him. I loved him in anything he was in, but I was always afraid of him.
He's like a non-fantasy version of Darth Vader.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. He has that presence without being in a costume and a laser sword.
Yeah, that's why he gets hired.
Mm-hmm. And so basically Jack has the swell idea to fake a corporate espionage and remove everything that ties them to Access Chemicals. And Boss Grissom thinks, that's a great idea, Jack. You do it.
Yeah, your idea, your job. And he's like,
I'm an idea man.
No, can't you get someone else to do it? You know, the fumes in there. I don't like it.
Yeah.
And so he has to do it. And I love it that Boss Grissom calls the cops and rats out Jack.
Yeah, he calls Eckhart, who's his cop on the tape.
He's and the thing is that Eckhart never hid the ball on this. He told Jack to his face, "I work for Grissom, not you."
Yeah. Now, well, that's the thing about the narcissist. They think that they see all the threads that no one else sees. Mm-hmm. But they can't see their own weakness because of how overinflated they are in their own story. So he doesn't see how vulnerable he is there. Like he doesn't even really hide when he's making goo eyes at Alicia. Mm-hmm. And Grissom sees it. Like Jack should be being way more subtle than he is, but he can't do subtle because everyone in this movie is at 11. Like no one is subtle.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's a little bit crazy, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's a crazy movie. It's a Tim Burton movie.
It is. It's very fantasy. Mm-hmm. Like, there's not a lot of reality in this movie.
No.
Anyways,
next to zero.
So, Jack has to do this shit. Cut back to Knox and Vale. Mm-hmm. They're going to go to a fundraiser hosted by billionaire industrialist Bruce Wayne. Because
Knox can't get access to Commissioner Gordon. That's what he wants. He wants to get Gordon on the record about the Batman, mm-hmm. and Vale has the invite to go to this benefit. It's a benefit for Harvey Dent. So they go there, and we meet Alfred, who's totally charming.
Sure.
Bruce, who's very quirky and weird. Knox is just a nuisance, asking questions to everyone and kind of ruining people's good time.
Yeah, Knox is annoying. Mm-hmm. And in the making of documentary, they have that actor doing Knox, talking about like mm-hmm. the segments and stuff of the movie. He's annoying then too. I just think this character, I don't know the actor when he's not in character. Yeah. This character is obnoxious as shit.
It's Robert Wool, and
he sucks.
It's really like of all these people, he's the one like that you could get Robert Wool to come and do like your grocery store opening. Like he'd come in.
Oh, he's
star of Batman. Robert Wool will come and cut the ribbon.
Is he at every convention signing pictures or?
I mean,
nobody wants
he
him.
definitely does conventions. I mean, it's not like never been a big draw for me, but
didn't he make good money off this movie?
I'm sure he did, and he's continued to kind of
this is
to
his
ride
thing.
Batman.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, that makes sense. You do what you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would love if going to conventions and collecting residual checks was my job.
It's a tough life.
Yeah. So yeah, they go to this thing. People are being annoying, and then so Bruce sees Vale, and he's like, "Oh man, look at that lady."
Well, she comes up to him and asks him if he knows who Bruce Wayne is, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't know."
And then he's like like creeping her, like he's peeping from far across the party.
Yeah,
and he's like setting his drink down and almost spilling it, and Alfred's grabbing it, and
the relation they do that how Alfred is kind of the only Bruce can't function without Alfred.
Yeah,
and I think they sell that really well in this whole sequence through here.
Yeah, and it's really I don't know. I didn't find it charming. I found it a little weird.
Okay.
But then Knox and Vale make their way into like a museum room in Bruce's mansion.
It's called the Armory.
The Armory. You know, I wrote Armory in my notes, but I thought that was the wrong word. But I guess it's the Armory.
It's the room with all the armor in it.
Yeah, and he has all these suits and stuff set up from different cultures. I just wanted to see those. I wanted more of that. I guess that's just because I'm a history nerd.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty cool armory. If I was at a party in a big manor house like that, like Wayne Manor, I definitely, and I found my way into that room, I definitely would study all that stuff. It's very cool.
Yeah, I would love to have a room like that if I had.
You gotta have a manor house.
Rooms. Yeah. So yeah, they're in there and they're talking smack about Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, because it's like, who owns an armory? Mm-hmm. What kind of weirdo? And Bruce follows him in there, and he finally chimes in. They're looking at like this Japanese. It's not samurai armor, but it's like a palace guard's armor or something like that, some sort of lower tier soldier. And he's like, Bruce walks up behind, he's like, it's Japanese.
How do you know? I bought it in Japan.
Yeah. And then it's like, who are you? Yeah. And then he introduces himself.
And I gotta say, up to this point in the movie, and we're like 10 minutes in, like, believe it or not, this movie, they pack a lot of things in.
There's
have a lot
really
of little
short scenes.
Yeah, little bite-sized scenes. Michael Keaton's acting is as Bruce Wayne is a breath of fresh air compared to the rest of this characters. He's a lot more normal. Him and Vicky Vale are the only two people that feel at all like two-dimensional or three-dimensional characters. Everybody else is flat.
That is a good observation. I think that's true. Yeah, definitely.
And so like it's very clear that there's a little bit of chemistry between these two because they're people.
You have a backstory. You're not just a name.
Yeah, you're not an NPC.
Yeah.
You know?
That's really true. That's a great observation. Yeah. And I love Michael Keaton in this movie. Like his take on, it's not really the comic book version of this character at all.
Yeah.
But it's very specific, and you can tell like he really inhabits it. He knows how Bruce's mind works. And yeah, I really like him as Bruce Wayne.
In the making of doc, they talked about, some of the studio guys were like, when they told us that they were casting Michael Keaton as Batman, we put a hard no on it. We said, no, he can't do it. We're not having Beetlejuice as our Batman. But then what they came back with, what Tim Burton, and I can't remember the producer's name, who was one of the guys guiding this thing. They basically said, you need to not think of that. You need to just look at his eyes, because that's what you see in the bat suit. And Michael Keaton has very emotive eyes. He's an excellent nonverbal actor. And so they gave him a second look, and they decided, yeah, you're right. That's a good way to look at it.
And he has like the same arching eyebrows as the Batman mask. Which is, it's like you see his face and you can imagine the Batman mask on it when you look at his face.
For sure.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
So I mean, I thought that scene there was interesting, and I was sort of like, oh man, these people are annoying. And then when they leave, you know, like Bruce is like, oh yeah, I gotta go, and he leaves. And I love that he goes behind the one-way mirror and he has all his cameras and everything. He's just a paranoid dude.
Yeah, and I like. You know, like Grant or Knox asks him just kind of off the cuff. He's like, "Can I get a grant like to fund my reporting?" And as he's leaving, he asks Alfred. He's like, "Get Knox a grant." Yeah. He's just like, money doesn't exist to this guy.
If you're a billionaire, why not?
Yeah, sure. And the guy is kind of sort of like singing his praises, like almost, you know, because he's like
talking about it.
Yeah, and he's just sort of like, yeah, give this guy money to report on the Batman. I'm trying to build a brand here. And so that all works out. What we kind of brushed over is Commissioner Gordon, a uniform cop, comes in and gets Commissioner Gordon from the party.
Right. Kind of pulls him out
and tells him, you know, Eckhart is doing this raid on Access Chemicals,
unauthorized,
and he's going after Jack Napier. And Gordon's like, oh, I need to be involved in this.
Yeah,
and that's what pulls Bruce away, because Alfred is like, Commissioner Gordon had to leave, and we get our first little glimpse of the Batcave, which is a bunch of VHS recorders and TVs.
It reminded me kind of like a scene if it was like from Hackers.
Mm-hmm. It's like imagining what high tech could be with just the stuff you could get at a Sears.
Yeah. Or they raided the Radio Shack and added some stuff because Radio Shack used to exist.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Hey, and I think in some small towns, that's still where you have to go for your batteries and whatever else is Radio Shack.
And so they that the proto Batcave stuff is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And so basically Grissom has sent Jack to do this Axis Chemical raid, and he's going there to get incriminating evidence, and they're cutting into a safe in an office. If this is their criminal front, why can't they just get into the safe?
Because they need to make the pretext that someone broke in and did this.
And so they open the safe, and there's nothing in there.
It's already been cleaned out. So Jack knows that this is a setup. Yeah, this is a setup. We get Eckhart outside. He's handing out Jack's mugshots to like all the cops, and he's like, shoot to kill, as if they operate any other way.
Yeah. I mean, come on. We've watched this movie, and we've lived our lives in America.
Yeah.
So, yeah, basically, Eckhart is trying to have a hit out on Napier for Boss Grissom. And then Gordon arrives and takes over, and he's like, you have to capture him. Nobody shoots him.
Yeah. Our handful of the few honest cops in Gotham City all show up and ruin the party for everyone else.
And they're basically like, we need this guy as a witness to incarcerate Boss Grissom.
Mm-hmm. And then also Batman shows up.
Yeah. And he catches Napier, who's trying to leave, trying to escape.
Yeah. I think everyone shoots, considering they're in like a chemical plant with no one knows what's inside of these vats.
They're very cavalier.
They shoot willy-nilly. People are running through sprays of it, industrial solvents and stuff.
No big deal. Cops getting sprayed down with slime.
So many this was like a supervillain factory where it just turned out cartoon characters.
And the whole fight scene, there's a bit of fighting that goes on here. Running and gunning, you're flipping between Eckhart and Napier and Batman and Gordon. And it's cheesy as hell. None of these people can fight when they do the non-shooting stuff. They did not hire a fight choreographer that was good.
Yeah, I don't think that's really what they're going for. Like
Nowadays, Batman whoops ass.
Yeah, he does Krav Maga. Like he does like a bunch of different things. This is just it's much more stylized. It's much more like focused on films of the night.
Pow, boom, bang.
I think they're
might as well.
Yeah, they're trying to get away from that. I think what they're looking at more is 1930s cinema, like 1930s noir films. It's those big haymaker punches and that sort of stuff that people did in those old gangster movies.
Yeah, he fights exactly like Captain Kirk fights.
Yeah, it is. It's very retro. Everything is very retro and stylized, which is weird because at the time you thought this was a really modern movie.
Yeah, I was like, wow, this is so cool and new.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. And as a modern action movie fan, like like I like the John Wick movies and all that stuff, I just look at this and I'm like, so I got a bunch of people from the 80s in this really hokey set.
Yeah.
Dressed like they're from the 30s, doing 60s style choreography.
I can't find the lie in anything you said there. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't loving that scene. I thought it was overlong.
Okay.
If you're gonna try to do the Joker's origin story, just get with it.
Okay. All right. Here's things I like about this scene. I do like the moment Bob gets another moment to shine because Batman gets the drop on Jack, and Bob is quick behind Gordon with the gun. He's like, "Let him go, or I'll do Gordon." And so Batman has to back off and let Jack go for a moment. And then when Jack tries to shoot him, he deflects the bullet, and it ricochets and blows through Jack's face. And we get just a few fleeting glimpses of Nicholson with his with bullet hole through the middle of his face.
Yeah,
and as a kid, I would go frame by frame and watch his face get blown off. I love that shit for some reason.
Yeah, it is pretty grim.
It is, and then
maybe for a kid, that's a little weird.
And he and then he ends up, kind of falling over the rail and dropping into the vat of chemicals. The classic Joker origin story. I think they did a really good job of like portraying that, working it into the story they're telling, but being very true to the comic book origin of the Joker.
Okay.
So I like this whole sequence through here. And I kind of like because we're getting like a year one Batman. He's not quite on the ball the way, like, this is not the Batman that does everything right. Batman kind of screwed the pooch on this whole deal. He screwed up Gordon's deal. He dropped the guy into the vat of acid. Like, this was not really a win for Batman.
Yeah, this was not slick. This was not well done. So basically, during the scuffle, Batman topples him off the catwalk into the acid and chemicals, and then Batman drops ninja smoke and gets away.
Yeah, he's like, this went bad.
He's like, oh shit, I murdered the guy.
Yeah, so that's something that really stands out to me, is because Zack Snyder gets a whole mess of shit for Batman collateral damage, where people will go through and like, look at how many people would have died if Batman did this. Tim Burton's Batman doesn't give a shit about killing people.
No, yeah.
And it's even more so in Batman Returns. He's like fucking blowing people up and gunning them down. He doesn't give a shit. So, cut Snyder some slack.
We get a couple of short scenes after this, like the reporters, Knox and Vale, trying to track down Batman worthlessly in that office where Knox is leching all over Vale constantly. He is a creep, and it's never entertaining. I just, the whole time, I just thought, why is she working with this guy? He's an asshole.
Yeah, it's true. I think the bar, as low as the bar is for a white man in 2022, it was even lower in 1989.
Yeah, like seriously. And she was the one that sought him out for the work. Like, she could leave any time.
Yeah, but he's the only guy that's interested in this Bat story.
Yeah, and so then we get, Vale has a date with Wayne. And who has a date at your own house?
Weird as Bruce Wayne does.
Netflix and chill of the past?
I just think it's more character work on Bruce Wayne about how weird and awkward he is. This version of Bruce Wayne kind of doesn't know how to human. He doesn't know how to adult.
He doesn't know how to do jack. But basically, like, he's all weird in this dining room at the opposite end of tables. And, like, they really only get human when they go down to the servants' quarters or whatever and are chatting it up with Alfred. And Alfred's telling stories about young Master Bruce. And then finally, Alfred excuses himself, and Wayne says, Alfred is my family.
Yeah, I love this scene. I think it
was really good. The actor who played Alfred did a great job, and I think that they successfully showed us that Bruce is incapable of running his own life.
Yeah, he needs Alfred for everything. R.I.P. to Michael Gough, who played Alfred he through all 4 of the 90s Batman movies.
Yeah, and he was old AF at that point. Yeah. So
great character actor, and I love him as Alfred. And I really like this scene. It's very humanizing for for everybody. And then we cut from there to Jack getting back alley plastic surgery.
Yeah, I thought this scene was creepy as fuck when I was a kid.
It's super grim, and it's very there's a lot of universal horror homages throughout this movie, like to Frankenstein, to the Invisible Man in this scene, to Dracula, to the Hunchback of Notre Dame in the climax. Like Tim Burton, he pays homage to like the whole Universal library over the course of this movie.
Yeah, and I like that stuff. I feel like Burton is really good about that sort of thing.
He knows he has very visible roots, like what he's into. It shows,
and we see that Napier has chalk white skin, and he has this green hair and nails, and
but we're just getting glimpses of it here. We haven't got the full reveal yet.
Yeah, we can see the coloration is all weird and wonky, and he gets all pissed off and starts laughing. He's angry, laughing. He's really creepy.
This all worked. Like I think it's one of the kind of a standout scene in the movie. I think
it's Nicholson's standout scene.
Yeah,
because later on he has some real shit bombs.
Okay. I can't wait. Back at the manor,
he gets Vicky crunk.
Yeah,
and then
they've been drinking wine pretty liberally, and Vicky is nice and tipsy by the time they go up to the bedroom. Nowadays,
this is not acceptable.
I don't know if she can give enthusiastic consent when she's that drunk, but in the 80s, we hadn't invented those rules yet.
Yeah,
and this is consent. This is not an assault.
She went there knowing what was up from the very beginning. I think. Yeah. So
back to Boss Grissom. He's waiting for his sugar bumps.
Yeah. And basically, Grissom is there, and who shows up? Some weird fellow.
Some weird fellow. Yeah. This is where we finally get the reveal of the Joker. Grissom is in his bathrobe, gray chest hair billowing out of it. He's ready for his young gangster moll to show up, and in walks his old pal Jack, reborn as the Joker.
And he's like kind of capering about and laughing a lot. Very comic book.
Yeah, he's gone full Joker. That's what I said. Like there was hints of the Joker up until he falls in the acid, but all he needed was that push. He always wanted to be this guy, I think.
Yeah.
And he has it's a delightful murder. It's capering about is kind of the right way to call it.
And it's interesting because he says the line, "Wait till they get a load of me."
Yeah.
And that's kind of a classic line, and it actually was recently referenced in an episode of Critical Role.
Oh yeah.
One of the characters said that because he had secretly been a werewolf and they had not seen him change yet, and so just before he changes, he says that.
There's a lot of classic lines in this movie. Yeah. Cut back to Bruce is he can't sleep or whatever. Vicky Vale's passed out. He slips out of the bed and gets himself on the inversion rack and is hanging upside down like a bat because he's Batman.
Yeah, that's what you got to do.
That's what you got to do.
And she looks over and sees him and she's like, "What the hell?
What the hell? This guy is a weird guy."
Yeah.
It's good.
And
I wouldn't sleep in one, but the inversion rack is good. Sprace out your vertebrae. It's good for your back.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind getting one of those.
Yeah. You need a lot of space for one.
Yeah. So basically, he lies to Vale that he's got to go out of town and whatnot, but really he just has to hunt down, he has to do some Batman stuff. So he's got to be away. And when she's leaving, she has a little exchange with Alfred, and Alfred spills the beans accidentally.
Yeah.
That they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, she's like, I'll see you when you get back. And he's like, going, Miss Vale? We're not going anywhere. And yeah. Oh, yeah, Alfred steps in it a couple times in this movie. Because this is kind of Grandpa Alfred. This isn't hard-ass Alfred that we're used to now. This is Alfred that kind of messes up occasionally.
Yeah. And it just, all of this kind of proves that Bruce Wayne can't deal with ladies. He's super socially awkward.
He is. And I mean, how much do we, because there is a million little scenes, like Joker kind of surprising Alicia.
I mean, if you want to bring one up, go ahead. But I think there's a lot of flushable scenes.
I think, okay, it's sort of important when the Joker kind of presents the new world order to the gang bosses.
Yeah, I had that one.
That's kind of important. He's got himself painted up
like a person.
Like normal Caucasian color, and he's making the pitch to the other crime bosses that Grissom had to skedaddle, and he's left me in charge. And no one's quite buying it. And
a guy named Tony stands up to him, and so he goes up to him and he kills him with a lethal joy buzzer.
Yeah, he's gone full in with the Joker gimmick at this point. He's got Joker gags, and he's got his Joker gang.
And he's capering about again, laughing, and
chewing scenery. That's what they call this.
And I was just like, what the hell? Even like when I was a kid and I saw the joy buzzer, I was like, oh wow, that's crazy. Is that a real thing?
Yeah. could you possibly electrocute something with a handheld like you couldn't,
and not electrocute yourself?
You'd have to have like a rubber glove and like a big ass battery pack or something. Like not even a battery pack wouldn't have enough juice to do it. And
it's
then very comic booky.
Joker wipes his brow and reveals the white skin on there. He's kind of giving it up. And then he orders Bob to go find the reporter. And Bob looks like a dweeb wearing those glasses and stuff. So, but whatever. Bob the henchman.
I do kind of like the Joker gang bomber jacket that everyone wears with the Joker emblem on it.
And then the cards on the sleeve.
Yeah.
I was thinking like, that jacket is on the nose, but as a retro piece, it'd be kind of
it's pretty
cool.
slick. You had to go wrong with bomber jackets. That's a timeless fashion item.
I mean, but in purple.
It's a really subtle purple though, because it's so dark. It's almost black. It's only when the light hits it you see it's purple.
Yeah, and so it kind of cuts over to Knox and Vale talking about the case, and he's very jealous that she's seeing Bruce. And then
she's tailing Bruce to see where he went, and he goes to Mysterious Crime Alley and places 2 roses on the ground. And in the days before the internet, it's hard for them to find out what happened here and why is it significant.
Yeah, they have to go to like
microfiche. And I was just like, God, research was hard in the 80s.
I can imagine. Yeah, so I mean, it's just kind of, these are more like, I guess they're kind of character building scenes. They're not really moving the plot.
Right.
Because at this point in the movie, there is no plot.
You're not wrong. But what this does is it puts everyone in proximity to City Hall. So that when one of Grissom's business associates basically makes a play for all of the boss's businesses in the absence of Jack Palance.
Yeah, there's this press conference, and they're talking about how Boss Grissom signed all these papers, leaving all the stuff to the control of these people. Wayne is watching on, and then you see a random mime, and then another mime, and then another mime, and nobody thinks anything of it. They're like, oh, there's mimes. And you see Bob off in the side, and
he's taking
pictures. He's got like a telephoto lens. And then the Joker shows up, and he's there to verify the signature on the papers.
Yeah, and he murders Vinny in the street, broad daylight, with a poison quill pen.
Yeah, right in the neck. It reminds me of, it makes me wonder, is killing a guy with a pen, is that what inspired the Heath Ledger kill the guy with the pencil?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, because I mean, I do think Nolan is aware of the Tim Burton movies. It's like he's not. It's not like he's like I don't want anything to do with that. He does weave in little homages to them in his vision of that. Maybe, yeah, maybe. And I really like this Joker scene. I like this. This is my favorite Joker costume probably of the whole movie. With the top hat and like the black tuxedo.
I like the fancy Joker with the top hat and stuff. And then they get into this like cool old limo.
Yeah.
And take off. I really like that car too. The car was dope.
And I like when the Joker gang, they're just like shooting Tommy guns and just making a big scene.
Yeah, just randomly.
And Bullet rips through Bruce's sleeve and he doesn't flinch. Like that's good. Like that's a good character moment too. Like kind of the crazy focus that he has that he doesn't even notice almost getting shot in the arm.
Yeah, and Vicky Vale seems to notice this. Like,
yeah,
she sees him there. And then we kind of get, a moment. The Joker is mad that Batman is getting all of his press, and he says, "This town needs an enema."
I had asked my parents what an enema was, and I don't know that I got a satisfying answer because I don't think they were comfortable with explaining it.
I think I asked too. I was like, "What's an enema?" And I think one of my older brothers, because they were late teens, and they're like, "When you put water up your butt."
Like, this can't be true.
What? People do that?
Yeah. And back at Wayne Manor, Alfred is given the hard press to Bruce about marrying Vicky Vale.
Yeah.
And it's he's very much in grandpa mode. Like, when are you going to give me grandkids sort of stuff? And just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, we slept together once.
It feels very weird.
A date.
Yeah. Bob brings the Joker the photos he took, and the Joker of course, he gets fixated on Vicky Vale.
Yeah.
And so we're putting together a very awkward love triangle that feels just jammed into the movie.
Yes. Well, because the Joker doesn't actually seem to care about other people or women in general.
Yeah.
He just wants the best looking lady around to be his status symbol. And so he found a new, better looking lady.
Yeah. And we get a quick shot of the Joker at Axis Chemicals, and despite the fact that there would definitely have been a massive like police investigation there, Axis Chemicals is rolling right along, putting out toxic chemicals.
Deal. Yeah. And then there's a news report talking about people who are laughing themselves to death, and then the news anchor starts laughing.
Yeah.
And then it cuts over to a commercial for the Joker doing a commercial for Smilex.
Yeah, because when it was broadcast TV, you really could hijack a broadcast.
The signal.
Crazy. I mean, so you could hack it now, but
I guess
then you would just need a bigger transmitter, basically, to override their signal. So Joker hijacks the broadcast and does this commercial, and Bruce is watching back at Wayne Manor. And Bruce is, considering the fact he watches the Joker like murder a woman on live TV and parade around two other murdered women. Bruce doesn't seem very concerned with the murders, exactly.
No, he's profiling Jack.
He's very fixated just on the Joker and not worried so much about the collateral damage. Yeah,
he's kind of... I don't want to say like, he's a sociopath or something, because that's not cool. But he's definitely a callous dude.
Yeah.
And I think... the Joker is acting in a way that is just, this is literally giggly geek evil. This is mustache twirling, nonsensically evil.
That's true. Yeah. And so Bruce and Alfred go shopping for these Joker products.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to do some research.
Yeah, they get this profile of Jack, though, and they're like, he has aptitudes for science, chemistry, and art. And I was just like, okay... Come on, guys. Move it along. We get it.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm with you on some of that stuff.
And basically, like, they show all the scenes and stuff, and the scenes in the cities are supposed to be like grim dark. It's way less grim dark than a modern city. like a real city where
Yeah.
you go and you find like the just nasty underside of things. Yeah, this was an underestimation of how bad LA could be, or
how filthy.
wherever they were. Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, it felt very gritty. It's like a cartoon version of gritty.
Well,
like
and I lived in the
is.
suburbs at the time, so
It felt gritty.
Yeah, it felt
to
gritty
a kid.
to me.
Yeah. And then we get let's brush through this because we get more of the action news team, but without makeup.
Yeah,
because everyone's afraid of wearing cosmetics, and they look
have,
super haggard.
Like really fake zit on the nose and like all
these
blemishes.
The mayor won't give up on the festival. He's still, despite all the murders and everything, he's still plowing ahead. And then the plot kicks back in when Alfred's playing the voicemails, and Vicky leaves a message saying that she's going to be late to the meetup at the museum, and Bruce doesn't know what Alfred's talking about.
Oh no!
Yeah.
So she gets lured to the Gotham Museum of Art, and she's there, and this again looks like one of those really cheesy sets with the big marble staircase and stuff that doesn't look real. And she goes and sits down at the cafe or whatever.
Yeah.
And she gets a present, and it's a gas mask to put on.
Very ominous. And it's written in sort of cartoon psychopath handwriting.
Comic Sans.
Yeah. And it's Joker colored too. I guess like purple and green. She puts on the mask, and the museum starts filling with gas, and everyone starts dropping dead all around her. She puts on the gas mask, and after the gas is cleared, Joker and the Joker gang enter and have a delightful like guerrilla art montage.
And there's a guy with a ghetto blaster
playing Prince at high volume.
And that Prince song is so out of place so far in the movie. It is just like, I respect that they got Prince to write music for this movie. That's cool. But holy shit, does it feel not right for the tone of this movie.
This is a really interesting thing. So the reason Prince is in there is because he's on Warner Brothers record label.
Yeah, and they want to do a full blitz.
And so putting out a Prince album is part of the deal. Tim Burton was not into it. It's not his aesthetic, but he was in the very awkward situation of, even then, Prince is sort of like an icon, even in 1989. And Tim Burton has a respect level for him and doesn't want to like shit on Prince, but it's just not what he envisioned.
Cut the music,
Yeah. And so Prince was much more collaborative with Tim Burton than he normally would be, because he's also like an auteur artist that just does his own thing. But they were forced together by their money bags on both sides.
Or as what is it? Oh man. Anyway, calls him Business Daddy.
Business Daddy, yeah. Business Daddy put the two of them together, and they made the best
Oliver.
of it.
It's a John Oliver term. Yeah. Business Daddy made them work together,
and they'd made the best of it, considering that neither one of them exactly chose it. It was foisted on both of them.
And Jack Nicholson is wearing this floppy purple hat. It's supposed to be kind of like indicative of, I don't know, maybe like artist's hat.
It's a beret.
And it's bigger than a beret. It's like a full-on Italian Renaissance floppy hat.
Yeah.
And they're going through, and they're doing graffiti and destruction on the different paintings, and the Joker paints in purple paint. The Joker was here, and they're dancing to the Prince music, and the Goombas look like somebody's uncle was given a bomber jacket and a gun. They do not look like goons or anything. These are just dudes. Can we get some guys over 6 foot tall? That'd be great.
The thing I felt about these guys is they've adapted. They were part of a normal crime industry.
Yeah, they were just goons.
And they got taken over by this clown guy, and they've gone with it. And these are the guys that have been willing to roll with this.
Yeah, and not just get in their car and drive away.
Yeah, they're like, okay, let's see what this is all about.
Yeah, and
they're having fun.
This is the single worst dumbest scene in the movie.
Oh,
the art walk of the lame graffiti and the badly placed music with the terrible costuming in the shitty set. I was like, oh my God.
Harsh. This is my favorite scene from childhood for sure.
Oh my God.
I absolutely love this scene. This song to this day gets stuck in my head forever. Like, I'll just start thinking of Party Man for no good reason. Because if there's anything in this movie that I've watched a bunch, it's this scene.
Man.
So yeah, especially as a kid, like, I mean, I can see everything that you're saying, but as a kid, I've drawn so many pictures of the Joker with that floppy hat. Oh. Like, I've got sketchbooks filled with Joker in a floppy hat.
That hat is lame. And Jack Nicholson prancing about off the beat.
Yeah.
I'm just like, holy shit balls. What the fuck is even happening? I don't remember hating this as a kid. I thought it was funny that they were destroying expensive art.
Yeah.
But as an adult, and I appreciate art and whatnot, I'm just like, first of all, gassing everybody and murdering them, not funny. Secondly, defacing, hypothetically priceless art or whatever, not funny. None of these guys look intimidating in the least. They all just look like idiots.
The big bald guy with the mustache, kind of like a white Danny Trejo, I think.
I don't know, man. He just looks like one of those boomers that rides a Harley that you shake your head at. You're like, get the fuck out of here, granddad.
I think that's probably closer to the mark on that guy than he'd be comfortable with. So anyways, I understand your take on this.
Man, that scene was shit.
Joker eventually makes his way to Vicky's table and sits down and peruses her portfolio and kind of shits on everything but the Corto Maltese pictures because he likes corpses.
Yeah. And he's basically like, hey, you're my gal now because I'm a weird predator guy.
He is the world's first fully functioning homicidal artist, is what he says.
Oh, okay.
He makes art until people die. And
That's not what that was.
He trots in Alicia as an example because we've seen Alicia has started wearing this porcelain mask, and it's because he's given her a big ass chemical burn on her face.
Yeah.
And it's actually very sad. Alicia feels very sad in all of these scenes we see her in.
Yeah, it's not endearing in any way. Like, I don't know what they were trying to get with this with this scene and this arc. But he scars up his former mistress and makes her wear a mask, and he I don't know. It's just sad, and it's not amusing. Are you trying to make the Joker amusing with the dancing and the prancing about and the graffiti, or are you trying to make him a horror figure?
Both.
It's not working for both.
Interesting.
He's not sympathetic in the least.
He is not sympathetic. No, that's true. He's just, like you said, a mustache twirling villain. Like he's a cartoonish villain, and he makes the pitch to Vicky that she'll be his photojournalist and like document him on this homicidal art project that he's basically doing.
Yeah, and
she's not into it, unsurprisingly. And luckily, Batman finally drops in through the skylight and rescues all of us from the awkward situation.
Yeah, and he kind of takes her away, and we get to see the Batmobile, and
they zip line out of the museum, and he's like, "Get in the car."
And when I was a kid, the Batmobile was my favorite part of the whole movie.
It's a pretty cool Batmobile.
I had a little toy Batmobile. It's probably my favorite Batmobile.
It's hard to beat this Batmobile.
I mean,
a lot of that's the childhood nostalgia.
Yeah.
But it's also got that cool sort of Corvette silhouette.
It's kind of got a retro vibe, but it also kind of looks futuristic. It's got like these really swooping lines, like a kind of a Rolls Royce-ish vibe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And a big fucking like jet turbine on the front of it. Yeah.
And this is one of the best Batmobiles of all time.
And it's interesting that through this whole sequence, because we go into this whole Blues Brothers-esque car chase, that it's it's got to be an homage to the Blues Brothers, because you get the Joker gang chasing in their cars and then the police cars following.
Well, and I think there was the car chase in The Crow had to have been an homage to this.
Yeah, I kind of, yeah. You know, you kind of, what episode? A couple episodes ago, you took a dump on the Blues Brothers. We should revisit that one. I don't really
think it's funny.
It's a very important movie, though. But anyways, yeah, I really enjoy this car chase. It's very exciting, and especially for a kid, this shit all hits hard. Mm-hmm. It all slaps. And Warner Brothers had an edict that the Batmobile couldn't get damaged, because they thought it damaged the brand of the Batmobile, and kids wouldn't want to have the toys if they saw it get destroyed. Yeah, and so they have this
armored shield part.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
It was pretty cool. Like, and it very much was like, like, the Batmobile can do that? Like,
yeah, it's impervious.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool because there's like autonomous driving of the Batmobile in this movie, and I was all about that as a kid.
Yeah.
As they're trying to get away, we run into the infamous two-sword man, who
because they have to at some point they have to get out of the car because there's just no empty streets.
And so they get out, and he puts the armor up, and they walk away. He's confident that nobody's going to be able to tow away the Batmobile.
Mm-hmm. Come back and it's got a boot on it.
That'd be amazing. And so there's a guy with the two swords, and
I have in my notes, ask Dave about the kung fu swords.
I mean, he's just doing a simple high-low pattern left to right, but it's cool.
What are the swords called?
Oh, those are Chinese broadswords. They come in pairs. They both go into the same scabbard. Sometimes they're called darndo or darnden.
Okay.
But yeah, they're just Chinese broadswords that he's spinning around, and Batman gives him the old Indiana Jones. You get no consideration here.
Well, he
kicks him. He blocks a hit, and then he kicks him, and it's over.
And so that's what I was saying. Like, they do what they can with the mobility that suit allows.
Sure.
He can pick his knee up, so he can block with his shin. And
he's got his forearms. He's like, ching, ching, ching.
And you get sparks off of all of them.
Remind me of some little Wonder Woman action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I think, considering the fact that thing has just got to be hard to move around in, they do the most they can of making you selling the idea that this guy can fight in that getup.
It was a little bit of a throwaway, but also a little bit of homage to Indiana Jones. So I was willing to buy it because I like that kind of thing. And then of course this is where we see the autonomous car, the Batmobile drives away on its own, and I was like, oh shit! When I was a kid, like, I thought that was next level.
Yeah, and the big plot moment in here is there's a brief period when the goons kind of have the upper hand on Batman and start to take his mask off. And Vicky gets a shot of his face while they have the mask pulled up.
He's like, how much do you weigh?
Yeah. Oh, that's when they zip line up to the skyway.
Yeah, you can't ask a lady that.
Yeah, very rude question.
And it turns out that his weight plus her weight was too much for the little winch, so he sends her up alone.
Yeah. And that's where she from way up there, she snaps a picture of his face that he doesn't want getting out.
Yeah.
So he takes her back to the Batcave, and we get a nice, like, it's kind of a mix of models and real life, like, street shots.
There's a lot of models in this movie.
Oh, tons.
A ton.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's seamless, and sometimes it's very clearly a model.
I think a lot of that stuff, again, it has to do with the resolution level we watch things at now compared to what we would have watched it at in the 80s. They were more seamless when the picture quality was lower.
Sure.
And the Batcave itself, when they get there, that's an awesome set. I love the Batcave with the elevated platforms, and it's like the Death Star. There's no handrails anywhere.
Yeah,
if you step off an edge in the Batcave, you're fucked.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, it's pretty clear that Vicky knows who he is. I mean, she's got her suspicions.
Yeah, she's definitely like trying to get looks at him and stuff. And obviously, this is a guy she's intimately familiar with she should know what he looks like pretty well.
Yeah.
And he's trying to block her. He's like in the car, he shines a light in her face when she's looking at him, and he steps into the shadows as much as possible.
Yeah.
But he hands her his dossier that he's built on the Joker chemicals.
Yeah, so they can publicize all the all the tricks behind Smilex so you don't get killed or whatever. And then it cuts to her in her apartment, and it looks like a 12-year-old girl's bedroom.
That's a funny takeaway. Yeah, because Batman, I guess he knocks her out while they're in the Batcave, so that he can,
like a gentleman.
So he can get like a gentleman does. There
are no gentlemen in this movie except Alfred.
At least, what I thought was that at least he didn't like put her in her pajamas, because that's always the thing in movies where someone gets knocked out and they wake up and they were in their full clothes and they wake up in their pajamas in their bed, and it's like they undressed them and put them into pajamas.
And then you run your hand through the hair and they bathed me? What the fuck is happening?
But Bruce Wayne is a 1989 gentleman. And he dumped her fully clothed on the end of the bed.
It's like, I will knock you out, but I will not take your clothes off against your will.
Yeah.
Yeah, that part was
again, funny. I told you, the bar is much lower in 1989.
Yeah, don't defend this. So Vicky publicizes all the stuff so people aren't doing it. And Joker cuts over to him. He goes, I have given a name to my pain. That doesn't rhyme, dickhead.
It's a slant rhyme.
It's not even a slant rhyme. A slant rhyme ends on the same sound, the same consonant.
Name, pain. Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, no, it doesn't rhyme. Poems don't have to rhyme.
That's true. That's true. And he is a functioning homicidal artist.
So, yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it doesn't rhyme, and he decided Batman has,
and he shoots the TV.
Yeah.
This is the second time he's blown up a TV. It's kind of a
it's the same. It's the modern equivalent of somebody breaking their smartphone because they're pissed.
That's true. It is. Yeah. Nowadays, the Joker would smash his phone on the ground.
Yeah, but smartphones cost more than TVs. Like to get a top tier one, it's like $1,000. You can get a real good TV for $1,000.
Oh, Jesus, you can get a real good TV for $400.
I know. TVs are cheap.
Yeah. So back at the stately Wayne Manor, Alfred is still pressing Bruce about Vicky. And so Bruce goes to go see Vicky. And she's not happy with him. And he basically, this is where he does the most ungentlemanly thing, is where he tells her to shut up.
He's like, you're a real nice girl, and I like you. But for right now, shut up.
Yeah.
And I was like, you didn't get slapped? Or she didn't just walk out?
I know. That would be, for either of our wives, if you said that, it's the door.
Conversation's over.
You're done. It's going to be a hard hole to dig out of.
I think that's universal. Like, you don't tell someone to shut up if you care about them.
Yeah.
You got to hear them out. I mean, he could have said something like, I understand I made you mad, but I really need to tell you something,
Yeah. No, I agree. It's not very, not very woke.
The 80s are different. And it's not about wokeness.
It was a different time when everyone was terrible.
People, I think there were functional relationships even at this time. This just wasn't in Hollywood.
I didn't see any.
I didn't either, honestly.
Yeah. I don't think there was. But what's the point? Bruce can't figure out how to say I'm
he's
Batman.
hemming and hawing, and she gets it.
He's making lots of dumb analogies, and then none of them are landing. And then there's a ding dong at the door, and the Joker bursts in with his Joker gang.
And Bruce kind of melts away into the side. He definitely has stealth trained.
Yeah. That's a bright ass room with nowhere to hide, and he just disappears.
And he gets like a metal serving tray, and he puts it in his shirt, and he's like, because we know Batman likes bulletproof vests. He's all about it. He's like, well, Joker's here. Better get some armor because he shoots people.
Yeah. The superhero game's no joke for people with no powers.
Yeah.
You better have a bulletproof vest.
And they have a little exchange, and basically Bruce tries the crazy guy act with a fire poker.
He's going to go for out crazying the Joker. And it might have worked, but the Joker bamboozles him when he drops the famous "Have you ever danced with the devil by the pale moonlight" line. And Bruce is like, does the "what'd you say?" And Joker shoots him.
And so, I mean, we know that he's not dead, but Joker doesn't. Because Joker doesn't know that's Batman.
No. He just thinks this is
just
his competition for Vicky.
There's another rooster in the hen house, he says.
Never rub another man's rhubarb.
I wrote that down.
The Joker has so many weird sayings that no one has ever said but the Joker.
Yeah. I mean, "Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight" is pretty classic now. You know, it's pretty cool. But "never rub another man's rhubarb" didn't get traction.
My favorite thing in this scene is how Bruce and the Joker both have the same observation when they walk in. They both go, "Nice place, a lot of space."
Yeah. And
it just kind of, it's pointing out that they're kind of two sides of the same coin. These are two crazy
the same
guys.
weirdo.
These are two psychopaths vying for this girl's attention. She should not date either one of them.
Yeah, I wonder if Bruce is on the spectrum, honestly. He has, a lot of communication stuff. He's very smart. I don't know. I'm not a diagnoser, but he has got something going on.
And he just completely slips out of here without saying goodbye or anything. When the Joker leaves and kind of theatrically leaves, and he leaves with a closing poem, and we don't have to repeat every Joker poem. And Bruce just slips out without saying anything.
Yeah, it's weird. It's kind of an odd end to the scene. Almost another throwaway scene, like.
But this is a good, like, there's not all that much time between Nicholson and Keaton, like, face to face, and so this is one of the main ones.
And so then Vicky goes and talks to Knox about the news coverage, and they see a picture of and he's looking at the microfilm and whatnot, and he sees a picture of young Bruce Wayne from the time of the murder. Yeah,
and so this is the first. It's taken him this long to actually get to the Bruce Wayne's tragic backstory, because when you're having to go through microfiche, I don't. Do you remember looking up microfiche of newspaper articles at the library?
I did. I had to do it for school a couple times.
Yeah. That shit was time consuming.
Yeah, it took forever.
You're like going through these card catalogs, looking for newspaper editions, and then going through.
Now all that stuff's all digitized.
Yeah, kids will never know the
joy and
the joy of digging through microfiche.
Yeah. So basically, the mayor has another press conference, and he's basically saying, "Okay, this is canceled."
Finally, he caves. There's a lot of bodies before the mayor is like, "We'll call off the parade."
Yeah, and then Joker shows up and he's like, "Nope, parade's still going, and I'm going to give out $20 million in cash. So everyone needs to show up, and I'm going to fight the Batman."
Yeah, basically calling out Batman is going to draw him out there to this thing.
Yeah.
And then we get our flashback of the Thomas and Martha Wayne's murder, which... the first time this has been filmed. I mean, now it's become a cliche, this whole scene, but I think this is the first...
it's a cosplay at this point.
Yeah, this is the first time this has been on the big screen it's definitely not in the 66 Batman. And so
he's kind of reminiscing, and
he's reminiscing about his parents' life.
He's thinking about it, and he realizes that the Joker was the one that did it. The Joker created him, and then he created the Joker.
Yeah.
And at this point, I looked at my phone and was like, "Can it be over?"
Ooh, ouch. Okay.
I opened up my Instagram, scrolled a bit, and looked back up at the screen.
Harsh analysis of this. So this is
there's still not really a plot. I mean, if there is, it's like a linear ABC kind of, these things happen. It's mostly just character development.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And this is a Tim Burton want, because this is something the screenwriter did not want to tie the Joker into Batman's origin like this.
Yeah, this was not like, what is it? Joe Chill actually did the kill.
Yeah. So Sam Hamm, who was the screenwriter, said that's not mine. That was something Tim Burton wanted, and I tried to talk him out of it. And then there was at some point a writer's strike while they were making the movie, and Tim Burton got through some of his rewrites that the screenwriter didn't want during that period of time. Yeah. So we got this. I think it makes total storytelling sense for this version of it.
Sure, for this retelling. And so basically Vicky's taken to the Batcave by Alfred.
This is another Sam Hamm is like, I wouldn't have done this. Alfred would be fired if he did this.
Yeah, and basically he's trying to make this relationship happen.
My big takeaway from this moment is, did Steve Jobs steal his look from Bruce Wayne? Because Bruce Wayne is always, when he's in the Batcave, it's black turtleneck and dad jeans. And I think Steve Jobs took his look from Bruce Wayne.
Sure, I think he probably was like, what's a cool billionaire look like?
and what's his name? The Amazon guy, Bezos. He looked at Lex Luthor.
Oh, yeah. I gotta get jacked.
Bald.
Yeah.
I need a rocket ship shaped like a dick. So
basically, he exposes his secret to Vicky. He tells her that he's Batman. It's clear. And he basically tells her he can't focus on their relationship because Joker's on the loose. And basically he leaves to go to Axis and deal with the Joker and Smilex and all that stuff.
He just goes and blows up Axis chemicals with all the people inside.
Yeah, and one thing that's not clear, because you get this really cool scene of the Batmobile with machine guns on it and bombs on the hubcaps. It's driving through the factory. That's in autonomous mode. He's not even in it.
Yeah. No.
It's drone warfare.
It is.
He's an early Obama.
And and like Obama, there's some acceptable collateral damage, because if you were just
you just said that
if you were just a card punching union guy, I gotta go down to the Axis chemical plants and do my 8 hours.
Are you making the Jay and Silent Bob argument about freaking the Death Star?
Do you think Axis Chemicals is just filled with goons?
Do you not think that people are enslaved by their labors because they can't escape?
No, but my point about that is Batman doesn't care, apparently.
Oh, so you're saying it's unacceptable loss. You said acceptable.
Well, to Batman and to Obama. I'm making the parallel.
Gotcha. So yeah, they're acceptable losses to the person doing the losing, forcing loss. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, not acceptable in general.
Batman feels that the factory workers are acceptable collateral damage.
Because they're probably in on it.
They
know they're making Smilex.
Do they?
I don't think so.
The Joker will shoot you if you quit.
Yeah.
They're, like you said, not just being slaves of the capitalist system, they're probably somewhat enslaved by the Joker.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is, like, kind of looking at this scene, you can tell this is physical effects when they pan out from the factory. That's a model.
Yeah.
And it's on fire.
And they blow that model up. And it's
because
gorgeous.
The flames are the wrong scale.
Oh, yeah.
They're flames like from a campfire. It's like,
that's true. Yeah.
So it wasn't CG. We can tell.
Yeah, but that's a really great model.
I mean, it's a cool model. It looks like a tabletop wargaming setting, like something you'd play on.
Yeah, but you won an award if you brought that to your tabletopping game and blew that up for a presentation.
But if you blew it up, yeah,
you won the convention. Like, you're going out of there with like one of those golden gargoyles or whatever they are.
Yeah. So one thing that kind of I don't know what it did. It took me right out of everything was the quote. Look, I'm Junior Birdman.
Oh, when the Joker flies over in the helicopter.
And I was like, this is a movie by boomers for boomers.
I bet Tim Burton's Gen X. When was he born?
He's got to be a boomer because, Jesus, Junior Birdman. That is not from somebody's wheelhouse that was raised up in the 70s.
Fair enough.
And so, yeah, basically that scene ends, and then we cut
Burton's born in 58.
He's a boomer.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, bro.
Sorry.
So yeah.
Whatever, boomer.
It's okay, boomer. So you cut to...
Sorry, I'm not cool enough.
Jesus. I'm not even a millennial. So you cut to the float, the
parade, the bicentennial parade.
And we hear more Prince music. Mm-hmm. And you got a float, and you got balloons, and you have Bob looking like an idiot on the float, along with the other goons who were still badly cast. And
they're just making do.
It looks like your uncle at a barbecue holding a rifle. Like he showed up in the jacket that he was told looked cool on him, and he was checking out his brother-in-law's new rifle. Like these are boomers. They are lame looking.
I'm saying these are Goombas who found themselves in a cartoon gang and have rolled with it.
Would you call them Boombas? That's
or
not
Goomers.
Funny. That's not funny. Oh God. Yeah, neither of those are good. Let's just move on. So, they throw money from the float, and everyone's coming around, and they're like, "Yay, we're still on a Universal back lot or whatever." And,
Pinewood Studios.
And you know what is the best, the greatest revelation that I had when I was watching this? As Joker is on the float, and you know he doesn't have a lot of room to walk around because he's on the float, but he's got Prince, and so he's dancing,
doing arm dancing,
Trump dancing.
The amount of villains in movies that it's very easy to draw parallels to Trump.
He literally
is Trump dancing.
He's Trump dancing, or I should say, Trump was Joker dancing, because this is from '89.
Yeah, that's true. He's
and so I was looking at it. I was like, oh my God, that's how Donald Trump dances, like the Joker. To music, he has no connection to, and out of beat, out of step. Yeah. I was just like, fuck me, Trump dances like the mustache twirling evil villain. Crazy times.
I wonder what they were listening to, because I don't think that song wasn't written.
It's got to be put over top,
because
it doesn't vibe with the way anybody's moving.
Yeah,
it's very clearly put in post.
Interesting. Yeah, I wonder what they were listening to, but yeah, that's all. That's really funny. My couple takeaways were, for one, very Tim Burton blimps. Yeah. Like everything looks like it could be a toy from The Nightmare Before Christmas. Mm-hmm. And
they're not very big either compared to like Macy's Day Parade.
Yeah, that's balloons. True. Because they're much lower to the ground.
Yeah, like this is because you're on a set. Mm-hmm. You know, yeah.
Oh yeah, because
you never see the sky.
The sets are all like kind of 3 stories high, and then anything above that third window is matte painting, optically composited together. So yeah, you couldn't have them up at that level that the Macy's blimps usually float at, because it would be in the matte painting.
Yeah.
The other thing is, you made the joke the other day in our chat that if there was an audiobook, I would listen to it.
Yeah.
I've read the novelization because I had the Bat Everything as a kid, and something in the novelization is that it's counterfeit money. He doesn't actually dump $20 million on the crowd.
Sure,
it's Joker bucks. Like,
oh God!
And so it's crazy how the people are acting, because at some point you would think someone would notice, like, this has a picture of the Joker on it. He sort of foreshadowed that earlier as saying, "I want my picture on the $1 bill."
Yeah.
But everyone's acting like it's real money. So the citizens of Gotham get no respect. Like they are obviously idiots.
These are very clearly people who are very desperate. Mm-hmm. They're willing to go to the guy who they know is poisoning the city to death and is a known murderer. Mm-hmm. And these are not people who value their life very heavily.
It's the Make Gotham Great Again crowd.
Oh God, yeah. I, for one, am for the jobs that the Joker brings with his Smilex production.
Yeah, it's like all my. I didn't have a job, and then I got a job at Access Chemicals.
Yeah.
Making Smilex.
Have you seen Don't Look Up?
Not yet.
Because, it's like that. Anyway, so Vicky and Knox show up, and
she's the first one to notice the gas.
Yeah. They're like, oh, my God, check it out. And then the dopest thing happens when I was a kid. I thought it was, we get the bat plane. I was just like blown away. I was like, what? He has a jet?
I love the Batwing, actually. And I'll brush over Knox getting his 3M mask and baseball bat out of the trunk.
Oh, God. I hated that. Okay, so living in a COVID world, we're not quite... I'm not going to say post-COVID because people are still dying.
Still ongoing.
He pulls out a thin surgical mask that's clearly been used. It's ratty. He barely puts it on, and he grabs a baseball bat. It's like... that is going to do nothing for you except make it hard to breathe while you're swinging that bat.
Yeah, and he doesn't put it on. Like, he doesn't pull the rubber strap around the back of his head. He holds it over his mouth while he's whacking people with the bat.
One-handed, I was just... that mask would do dick.
Correct. Let's get to talking about the Batwing, because...
Batwing is cool.
It's gorgeous. I love the design of the Batwing.
I learned about myself through watching this... I fucking love vehicles more than people because I like the Batmobile, I like the Joker's limo, and I like the Batwing.
Yeah.
Everything else, didn't like. So this thing is really cool. It doesn't seem aerodynamically sound. It's very futuristic and very cool. But I really liked how he knew he needed to have like a little grabber thing, like a pair of pliers or something mounted to the front, like a robotic claw, so that he could grab balloons with the thing.
It seems
and fly them away.
It seems very much like. The engineer said I was crazy for putting a balloon grabber on the front of this.
Exactly.
But it's the right tool for the job. Yeah.
And Joker's like, he stole my balloons. And then he shoots Bob.
Pour one out for Bob the Goon.
Why? The most loyal henchman. The only loyal henchman. The rest of them are no names. Bob.
For want of a TV, Bob died. If there had been a TV there for him to shoot, which is usually what he takes his anger out on, he probably would have shot it. But no, Bob deserved better. That's in my notes.
His name was Bob Jokerson.
His name was Bob the Goon.
Yeah. I liked Bob.
In death, a member of the Joker family or Joker gang has a name.
Yes, exactly. So the Joker... second lamest scene in the movie. He pulls out the super overlong pistol because that's what this movie is a stupid overlong thing and points it at the Batwing and shoots him down. Give me a break.
Well, there's no way that gun would work.
I mean, you can make a pistol with a long ass barrel. It's not a thing that couldn't be made. But why?
Well, imagine. Well, it's long. So a bullet certainly can travel down that barrel because rifles are
it's like
that
a rifle. Yeah.
But the ergonomics of a rifle are completely different.
Sure. And if it's not that big of a caliber, it wouldn't really kick that hard because the more mass that you have, the more it absorbs the recoil. So having a big heavy barrel is actually going to make it have less recoil than if it has a snub nose. I don't know if you've ever shot like a little 357 snub nose or something revolver. It rocks back in your hand hard because of that short barrel. But basically,
I don't think you could effectively aim that thing and shoot.
God, no, not with one hand.
And I don't think it could shoot down a plane.
No.
And so, none of this.
And he pulled it out of his pants. He hadn't been walking stiff-legged the whole time.
It's just more cartoon nonsense. If you're going to hang around Gotham City, something you need a lot of tolerance for is cartoon nonsense. The city runs on cartoon nonsense.
Quoth the David, he does it with a stupid-looking overlong pistol because that's what this movie is. Stupid and overlong.
So, shoots down the plane.
Yep.
Absconds with Vicky to the cathedral.
The Batwing happens to crash right in front of the cathedral.
Well, everything happens in like 6 blocks radius in this movie because that's
the
all they
size
built.
of set. Yeah. So they kind of have a fight. It's not really a fight again, but I've already said that the fighting in this movie is not really.
Well,
fighting.
Batman has to sort of game of death his way to the top of the cathedral and fight all the Joker.
You know, I hadn't really put the game of death together. I was thinking this was the inspiration for The Crow.
Oh, it's the finale scene in the church. You are almost certainly right.
It's very similar to that finale.
Yeah. No, I think you're probably dead.
I'm pretty sure there's a lot of Batman homages in The Crow.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think you're right about that. Joker calls for a chopper to meet them up the roof in about 15 minutes. And this, the thing more so than The Crow, the thing it reminded me of is actually like the end of Dracula. Mm-hmm. Is because they're in the church and going up the stairs.
Oh yeah, I bet you it's all linked back to that same reference. Definitely, the classics are the classics.
Yeah, and I was just thinking how cool a lot of these scenes would look in black and white.
This movie could have been more noir.
Mm-hmm. Even say you treat it actually like a noir movie,
not a comedy.
It's 75 minutes long, and in black and white. Just cut all the fat
and grim.
Yeah,
that would have been great. I would really, there should be like a fan edit like that. I wonder if
now you can do it pretty easy. Recolor grade it and make it black and white. You probably could do that. And just
cut all the fat. Make Joker grim and not silly. Anyway, so the thing that kind of took me out of this whole scene, so we got the Joker, he's dancing with Vicky and he's lampooning all this, and then he pulls out the gun and he goes to shoot himself in the head, like suicide, and it's a trick gun with the little scroll that says bang. And I was just like, ugh.
It's very Joker.
What even is this? So basically Batman goes up the top and pursues the Joker. He
kills all of the goons.
Yeah, because that's what you should do.
This is not the swore not to kill Batman. This is I drop people down mine shafts. I throw them off a building.
Well, these guys are bad guys. They kill people. These are murderers. And so he gets up there and they have a little bit of a fight, and he reveals that he knows that Napier killed his parents and thus created him, and then he created the Joker, and they kind of have a moment together, like, you're responsible for me and I'm responsible for you.
Yeah. The thing that always, and this is even when I was a kid and my tolerance for nonsense level is at the highest, is how quick Joker knows who it is.
Yeah, he remembers that specific day.
Yeah, he's like, you killed my parents. He's like, he's like, oh yeah, that kid. I probably should have killed him. Yeah. It's very I guess maybe it's if it was early in his career, his murders were more important to him back then. He remembers those early ones, but that always just struck me as weird. The helicopter comes. Joker's getting whisked away. Batman bolos his leg to a gargoyle. He falls off the ladder and plummets to his death and ends up laid out like King Kong at the bottom of the Empire State Building.
And Batman and Vicky Vale make it to safety.
Yeah, they fall off, but just for a little bit, so they can have
no big deal.
Yeah. And then we cut to the post Joker reign of terror press conference.
We call this sequel priming.
It is sequel priming. And they unveil the bat signal.
Yeah.
And Alfred's waiting for Vicky in the Rolls Royce. He's got a bottle of champagne there, but Bruce is going to be a little late because he's got to pose.
She's not surprised though.
Yeah, he's got to go pose on top of a building.
Yeah, he's got to stand watch over the city like a gargoyle.
And that's a wrap. So
ta-da!
I guess I need to ask you what worked for you, because it sounds like not as much as worked for me.
Michael Keaton worked for me.
Okay.
His acting, especially when he's Bruce Wayne, he seems like a real person. This movie looked sort of like a comic book, but it had Tim Burton's dark vibe on it. And I like Tim Burton's dark vibe. I've generally been a fan of his movies. And so I liked that. I thought that him making it spookifying this movie, I guess, was cool. I like the Batmobile and the Batwing. I thought that was really cool. But I think cooler than the movie itself was Batmania and the cultural phenomena around the movie at the time. I like looking back at it sort of, I have a fond spot for this movie. I should have not rewatched it.
Just left it in.
Yeah, I should have left it as something I loved from my childhood. Because when you look at things like, do not go and watch the Highlander series. You will hate it.
Yeah. What about the movie, though?
Movie still stands up. Not the second one, but the first one. Third one, pretend it never existed. But we all know that Henry Cavill's going to be the new Highlander, so it's all good. Anyway, so those things work for me. The cultural phenomena and significance of this, multiplying its budget by 10 in profits, that's pretty huge. And it opened the door for the popularity of nerd things.
Yeah.
So that's what worked for me. How about you? What worked for you?
I'll echo you a little bit. My number one is Keaton and Nicholson. These are iconic performances for both of them, and they're very specific to these versions of the characters.
Sure.
And I love the two of them in this movie. They carry it. Number two, Danny Elfman's score. Often imitated, never duplicated. Those chords, when you hear that, that's Batman. Like, immediately you think Batman. And this is his third score with with Tim Burton. And Warner Brothers wasn't sold on him, and Burton had him play the main Batman theme, and they're like, all right, you can use this guy. This is just an instant classic. And then my number three is the aesthetics. Burton's concepts, Roger Pratt's cinematography, and Anton Furst's Academy Award-winning production design, and the Bob Ringwood designed Vin Burnham sculpted batsuit. Anton Furst, in particular, he designed what Gotham looks like. Any of the modern Arkham video games, this is what Gotham City looks like, and it's all the sort of the skyways, how dense the city is packed together. He really created an aesthetic for this city, and it has lasted for 30 years.
Okay, cool.
What didn't work for you?
It was too long, and the Joker was super duper annoying. He didn't succeed in being funny or scary. He was unfunny and unscary. He was just sort of a malicious twit that capered about and killed people who were innocent people. He didn't ever defeat anyone that was a challenge. He didn't ever actually do anything worth noting. I just thought that this Joker sucked. Literally worst Joker I can think of.
Even more than Jared Leto?
Oh God, you're right. He sucks so bad too. Okay, my bad. Let me just say Heath Ledger's my Joker. And I'll even give Joaquin Phoenix the nod before this one.
Oh, Joaquin's good, actually. He's really fucking good.
And so the thing is we have several to choose from, and this is your grandpa's Joker with his shitty suit and his lame Trump dancing, and you're just like, fuck you, dude, you suck. So he wasn't cool, interesting, funny, or scary.
I don't agree, but I love your take at the same time.
The sets all looked lame. They looked like you painted a set. It looked constructed. It looked like a play set. It didn't look like a big budget, millions of dollars movie. It didn't, you could tell they were on a back lot. It's like every single scene that wasn't like inside the mansion or inside the apartment or whatever.
In a real place.
All of the scenes in the city, they look like a set piece with a bunch of extras and some really glaring lighting. It looked so artificial.
Wow.
Like by a modern standpoint, it just looked fake as shit. And it wasn't like a grimdark city because wherever that was in Fight Club, that's a grim fucking city as presented.
Yeah.
Or the dirty, dank LA that we saw in what's the movie? The Alien movie that we did an episode on.
Oh shit. Jeez, I don't remember.
Anyway, that gnarly version of LA, that's dank and gross. This just looks like someone drew a comic book and made a play set out of it.
Huh. Okay.
The physical effects were very noticeably physical effects. They didn't blend. It was no Star Wars. And it was way too long.
You've already said that.
I know, that was my second time.
You must really mean
I began my didn't works and ended them with it was too long.
So how long? It was just over 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was about an hour too long.
Okay.
What about you? What didn't work?
For me, I don't have a lot of things that didn't work, but the one that doesn't work is the pacing. The middle of the movie is real mushy.
Yeah,
you can tell they're revising the narrative as they're filming. Like they're rewriting the script and they're putting in little scenes so that little linking scenes so that stuff makes sense and you can follow it.
Like those little micro press conferences or the meetings of Knox and Vale.
Yeah, exactly. Like
we need to explain everything.
Every once in a while we need a little exposition to drop in, and so they have these little what you call throwaway scenes. And it makes I think the beginning of the movie and the climax of the movie are really strong, and that whole middle is just real spongy. And particularly on my second watch through, that really showed to me. I was just like, oh man, we're really just slogging through this middle part.
Okay.
So there's that. And then the romance thing, and this is not really on Keaton and Basinger, who I think are both great actors.
Yeah.
It still feels very forced in there. Like the way Alfred's always bringing it up, and like, it's just always... It's pushed in there and it doesn't fit. It ends up being one of the extra things in the story that it doesn't really need to tell its story. And that just always kind of grates on me. But those are the two things. They're kind of the same things as what you said, but more condensed.
Sure.
Well, I guess then rating.
All right. So I'm going to give you two quotes and
Okay.
I want to see if you can tell me who said it. Mm-hmm. I liked parts of it, but the whole movie is mainly boring to me. It's okay, but it was more of a cultural phenomenon than a great movie.
Okay.
Who said that?
Well, give me the other quote, too.
Okay. Batman is a triumph of design over story, style over substance, a great-looking movie with a plot you can't care much about. It's a depressing experience.
That's Roger Ebert.
That's Roger Ebert. Who was the first one?
Leonard Maltin?
Tim Burton.
Oh! Ouch. Okay.
Yeah, Tim Burton literally said, it's mainly boring to me. Mm-hmm. And it was okay. And literally the most important thing about it was the cultural phenomenon. And I think the same thing.
Okay.
I give this a 2+.
Oof. Okay, we're a big discrepancy. I'm going to go with a 4.
Okay. I was going to say, if you gave it a 5, I was closing this laptop and leaving. Leaving my own home.
It couldn't... There was... Just get in the car and drive away.
Where are you going? I don't know. Away from Nick.
Just drive through my car.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no... It was never in... There was a point early in the movie when I was like, God, I love this movie so much. Is this
probably during the Batman symbol opening scrawl?
Yeah, probably. Because immediately, like, when I start watching this movie, like, my heart soars.
Sure.
And so maybe 4 is too strong, but that's... I've sat with it all week, and 4 is where I landed. It's far from a 5. Very far. It's a barely 4.
Sure.
All things together, the aesthetics of it and the cultural impact, like you said, this ends up being a 4-star movie. But I think you've justified your 2+.
The thing is you're in love with it because of what it is and what it meant to you as a kid.
Exactly.
And I thought it was cool. I was not Batman kid like you.
Yeah.
I think I had a Batman shirt and a couple of toys. I had a Batmobile and I don't even think anything else. I think just a Batmobile. Anyway, and it was like the Matchbox one because you zoom it around. Anyway, yeah, so I think this movie just meant different things to us. Just like I loved The Crow super, a ton.
Exactly.
And so I accept your 4. Are you giving it a plus for being culturally important or no?
I mean, it is. It is culturally important, but... sure.
In the 80s, this was it, right? At the end of the 80s, this is one of those things. So I mean, there was another reviewer that said the best thing that came out of Batman is the second Batman movie.
So we'll get to that one next Christmas. Let's do Batman Returns.
I would rather do Die Hard. Nobody wants to listen to either of those podcasts. We got to get some divers to do a focus group with us to figure out
what do you guys actually like?
What do you want to hear? Okay, so I always round us out with the critical reviews, but like I said before, these are old, and this is all this movie is pre-internet, so. IMDb gives it a 7.5, Rotten Tomato gives it a 72, and Metacritic gives it a 69. So they sort of vibe with you a little lower than you because a 4 is roughly 80. Yeah. So they're all 3.5s. They really gave this a mediocre.
There is a lot of times when I regret getting rid of the fractional stars because a lot of things end up being 4s that really aren't quite a 4.
Well, the thing is, I mean, I'm not going to fight you on your rating, but you said it's a 4 because of the cultural impact. We literally made a signifier for cultural impact.
And that's the plus.
So it would be a 3+ if your own explanation is to be taken.
But it's more than that.
You like it as much as any 4.
I like this movie
Dune.
a lot.
Is it better than Dune?
Than David Lynch's Dune?
Yeah. It's not. It's straight up not.
It has a lot of the same problems as Dune.
It does like a mushy middle and whatnot. Cool premise.
Stuff that's just put in there just so it makes sense because it wouldn't. Otherwise, you wouldn't know how you got from A to B.
Otherwise, it's just random scenes. Yeah. Anyway, so let's take a short break. Or do you want to revise that? You want to go down? You're going to go to a 3+?
I'm gonna stay with the 4+.
Okay.
4+.
Let's go ahead, take a break, and then we will get back to the final segment.
All right, welcome back, divers. It's time for that final segment, the one where I ask Dave, what are you into right now?
Well, I like to give audiobook recommendations sometimes, a lot of times, especially when mostly all I'm doing with my free time is grad school stuff. So I listen to these when I'm at work and I'm on my break and whatnot. And I listen to the book called Prospero Burns. And it's by Dan Abnett. It is I
know that name.
He's a famous fantasy author if you are really into Warhammer novels.
Okay.
He's written many of them, and he's very good. I'll give him that. He's basically a staff writer at this point for Black Library, the Games Workshop division for fiction. And this particular book is it's way back, happens like thousands of years ago, and it's almost an origin story for the Space Wolves and the Thousand Suns Space Marine chapters, and it's written from the point of view of a third-party observer from a scholarly organization within the Empire. Okay, and he kind of embeds himself like a war reporter with the Space Wolves.
I think you need to give a little more explanation about the setting.
What is
Warhammer 40K and what are you describing?
Okay, so Warhammer 40K is a science fiction universe that happens 40,000 at the year 40,000 off of our Gregorian calendar. Humanity has gone out across the universe and become multi we have planets everywhere with people on them. And there was at one point a war against intelligent machines that rose up, and so now in the world of 40K, there aren't computers are not used and whatnot because it's forbidden because of the past.
So like Dune, kind of.
Yeah. It's kind of got Dune tech levels, but maybe a little higher. And so anyway, there's an emperor of mankind, and it is
that's like Dune too.
Yeah, there is a knowledge of like there's a thing called the warp that if people they can open it up to move space vessels like in Dune kind of.
Okay.
And they use psychic powers, which are kind of like the Weirding Way-ish.
I have a lot of Dune comparisons, but I didn't realize.
There's a lot more. It's a lot more magical than the Weirding Way.
Yeah.
Like there's straight up sorcerers that can like hurl hellfire at you. Anyway, so it's a sci-fi fantasy setting, and the Emperor of Mankind, has constructed super Ubermensch people that have that have created entire chapters of Space Marines, which are these 7-foot tall superhumans that wear power armor and do battle against aliens and servants of the Chaos Gods, who are found in the warp. Orcs are aliens. We call them the Xenos. Anything not human is an alien.
Okay.
So purge the alien, burn the heretic. And so it's kind of got this kind of... It's like future but retro. Retro future vibes, sci-fi, and the Space Wolves are a Space Marine chapter that I play that are that are essentially take heavy influence from Norse culture and style. So anyway, it's a really good novel if you like that. And I think a lot of people sleep on Black Library, the Warhammer fiction. They think, oh yeah, it's just fiction made for this universe, for this to promote a game, but really it's very good. I think there are some excellent books. Like I've read the Eisenhorn books, which is about this inquisitor who's like, it's kind of like a detective novel series. Anyway, there's a lot of really good stuff. This novel inspired me to do a little more modeling on my 40K stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I'm learning how to use an airbrush.
Ooh, snap.
I got an airbrush. I am not good with it. I keep making like pooled paint and it's just not looking good.
Drips.
I got to get better. I got to keep practicing. I got some shitty models that are old that I try, then I reprime them, try again, reprime them. So they're thick, right? It doesn't matter though. I'm just trying to get the highlights right. And so anyway, I'm really enjoying that. I'm spending most of my time doing school stuff, but other than that, little bit of hobbyism. Not to mention, disc golf season professionally starts this weekend, so I've been watching tournament coverage that started yesterday.
Okay.
What about you? What are you into?
Well, I was going to kind of piggyback on something you said there, because I've always been a little dismissive of licensed novels and things like that. And then when way back when we did our World of Warcraft episode, I listened to a bunch of Christie Golden's World of Warcraft novels and really liked them a lot. And so there is a whole world of licensed fiction that's actually pretty good.
Because the thing is, these companies, it's not like some shitty business dude. Business dad is not writing a novel. They're hiring a really good freelancer to write for them. And so like you get some phenomenal books that they're better than the game material that they're based on. Yeah. Because the authors just have so much skill and freedom with the written word. And so, I have never been a hater of licensed material, because as a middle schooler, I started reading Forgotten Realms books.
A lot of people like those Forgotten Realms.
They're so good. The old school ones,
And the Timothy Zahn Star Wars books are excellent too.
Big time.
Okay.
So what are you into right now?
What I'm into right now is Pam and Tommy on Hulu. created by...
Oh, no, it has Winter Soldier in it, right?
Yeah. Created by Robert Siegel, directed by Craig Gillespie and others, starring Lily James, Sebastian Stan, Nick Offerman, and Seth Rogen.
Oh, man, I love Nick Offerman and Seth Rogen.
Oh, they're so good.
And Sebastian Stan.
It's really good. It's based on Pam and Tommy, The Untold Story of the World's Most Infamous Sex Tape by Amanda Chicago Lewis. And it's a black comedy / true crime / music biopic. It's sort of like a 90s version of Sid and Nancy. Not really in tone exactly, but in the way that Lily James and Sebastian Stan just completely disappear into Pam and Tommy, like become them. And they're even wearing because Tommy Lee has very distinctive tattoos.
Yeah.
Pamela Anderson had a very distinctive look and body type. And they're wearing sort of like silicone appliances to replicate the bodies of the people they're playing. Because it's a movie or it's a series about a infamous sex type, so there's a lot of nudity, but it's kind of not real nudity because it's not their real bodies. And it's very humanizing to everyone involved, particularly Lily James as Pam Anderson and Seth Rogen as Rand Gauthier, who was the disgruntled contractor that ended up stealing the sex tape from their house. And it's funny and emotional, and it's kind of like it hits all those buttons that I like, and it's nostalgic for the 90s in a big way. It's like set kind of in 1997, so you know, my first year of adulthood really, and I've really been enjoying this show.
Yeah, as I get older, I reminisce a bit about the 90s.
Mm-hmm. It's very 90s-tastic. Like it very much feels like the time, and you're like, it was sort of in this time around the OJ stuff and the Pam and Tommy sex tape, the beginnings of our future viral culture that we have now.
Yeah.
Those seeds are just starting, and like this video went viral in the infancy of the internet.
Yeah,
where,
for sure. Only super nerds were downloading porn videos.
Like Seth Rogen has to explain what the internet is to people because no one really knows what it is and how you get on it. And like Pam and Tommy have to go to the library in Malibu to get on the internet because they don't have a computer that goes on the internet. Yeah. And it's like, that's how it was in 97. Yeah. Not everyone had the internet.
I remember going to the library to use the internet.
Oh, yeah. You get an hour of time and you had to look up everything you wanted to look up and check your email.
Yeah, send some emails to people.
Yeah. The Alta Vista search engine.
Oh, man. Yeah. Alta Vista, that's the GOAT right there.
So Pam and Tommy is what I'm into right now. You want to give them the call to action?
Yeah, subscribe to us on your favorite podcatcher, as well as YouTube, Spotify, and Audible. Don't forget to leave us a review. 5 stars costs you nothing, but means everything to us.
We are on all social media platforms across the metaverse as Deep Dive the Meta. We are on Facebook still, even though no one likes it anymore. We are on Instagram, which I still kind of like. And we're on Twitter because Diver Lance is there, and otherwise he wouldn't know what we were doing.
Oh, yeah. Well, Russian warship, go fuck yourself. Well, I guess this is really goodbye.
Don't say goodbye. Say good journey.